YOLO, mofos. What it is, what it was like, if it was supposed to be like, what it's supposed to be like. It's 420 TV News Late Night. What are you guys doing up so late? Are you guys night owls? Is that why you're up here looking at the 420 TV drugged out? Look into my eyes right here, right here. Yeah. What's up, Tammy? Desert Bros? Raven Wolf Channel? James Crouch, what's going on, yo-yo? What else we got in here? Well, I don't know. If they're in here, they're not here, but they're here. You know what I'm saying? We're going to go over some news tonight. We're going to have guest Raven Wolf come in here in a little while to talk about one specific story. Now, don't forget to look just right here. And after you've been looking there for just a little while, I want you to look at your favorite object in your field of view. Do that. It's a little mental exercise here. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. You got high and you were ready for bed? Well, you need to wake up because, like, we're teleporting here. Look at the target. What's up, Michelle? Yeah, I mean, just, like, look at it right here. And then, especially if you're on a TV, it might not work so good on a phone unless you're, like, putting your phone in your face or whatever like that. But if not, you can look at some kind of object in the room there, like my trippy photo right there. If I were to turn and look at it, watching this with you guys, it would be like moving all over the place, man. And that's like a free hallucination. You don't even need drugs. That's a free hallucination brought to you by me on 420 TV. Anyway, let's check out some news, but first, I think I got a few videos on the video section, or is that on the news portion? I don't know. Let's check it out. Look at that nice rattlesnake. You don't want to step on one of these guys. You don't want to, accidentally tread over this thing, or you'll regret it. But, the eagle will do it. Let's see. I think the videos are here. Yeah, here they are. Let me mute myself. Yes.
It's all going to add up sooner than later. The Biden administration, hiding behind razor wire and dementia, will ignore, fabricate, and politicize everything until they have lost the tenuous grip they have on the steering wheel of the United States.
Here's what to expect. The old fence in red with its barbed wire is coming down, but a smaller fence in blue is now up. It's on the other side of 3rd Street, which will soon open to car traffic. Capitol Police tell us the wire moved from the tall fence will just go to the smaller fence.
The questions are piling up for President Biden, who now becomes the first president in a century to not hold a solo press conference.
He took questions actually twice yesterday.
It's not just the American people concerned with Biden's inability to hold a press conference. The whole world is watching.
Let's go, you guys. Come on, press. We're going to move out. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, let's go. This is the border, sir. Let's go, you guys. Come on. Come on, let's go.
That was aides to President Joe Biden there, hurrying the press corps away as they shouted questions at an unresponsive commander-in-chief in Washington. The incident occurred towards the end of the visit by Biden to W.S. Jenks & Son, which is a hardware store in the nation's capital that benefited from his temporary extension of the Paycheck Protection Program for smaller businesses. After watching Biden interact with store owners and employees for about 10 minutes, reporters began shouting a series of questions at him to no avail. And his team were very quick to respond to the sudden pressure on the president. They started yelling, "Come on, press, you gotta go," as the reporters were quickly removed from the scene.
The same goes for the dust clouds forming at our southern border as cartels, pestilence, and the Cloward and Piven bulwark flow into the devastated and COVID-frozen economy of the United States.
The border is not open. Chris, in the last 24 hours, you've had 1,940 apprehensions just in the last 24 hours. How bad are these numbers? You've been doing this for most of your adult life. How bad is it? Put this in perspective.
Yeah, this is the worst I've ever seen. Unfortunately, I think there's more to come. I don't think this is a high point by any stretch of the imagination.
There is a crisis on the Texas border right now with the overwhelming number of people who are coming across the border. This crisis is a result of President Biden's open border policies.
Today, we learned the 13 people killed in a horrific crash in California Tuesday were smuggled through a hole in a border fence before their SUV, packed with 25 people, collided into a semi-truck a short time later.
Last week, Customs and Border Protection had about 1,300 children in their custody. Yesterday, that number was 3,400.
Actually, the facts are these. There are more children, about 700 more children, unaccompanied children, coming over the border. This is a humanitarian challenge to all of us. What the administration has inherited is a broken system at the border, and they are working to correct that.
Do you think the American people are not being well informed?
Oh, no, they're not. You've got over 29,000 juveniles in custody right now in the last 2 months. When President Biden decided to sign that executive order, that created this monster.
While the events in Portland that exploded over the past few days when the radical left owns your town, completely ignored by Biden and his media goons. Meanwhile, the possible time bomb in Minnesota resulting from an acquittal due to the facts in the George Floyd case could make the Capitol riot look like a walk in the park, no matter how hard the media tries to hide it. All of this and much more will add up. But the joke's on us. Of course, it's all by design. Joe Biden is the New World Order's wrecking ball. John Bound reporting.
That guy. No, what do you think about having a president that doesn't even have to, answer questions? Weren't they saying that about the last one? That's what's kind of weird. It's like, kind of repeating itself no matter who gets in there. You remember back in the day when Cheney said, we'll tell you what reality is. We decide what reality is. Well, they still do that. They're still doing it. They are deciding your reality. Hold on and let me do one thing here. All right, now I think we're good there. I wanted to turn that off so you don't have to get my stupid intro every time I go back and forth. So what's up, y'all? What's up, James Crouch, Simon, Joanne, everybody who just joined? Yeah. And if you guys didn't get to experience it, if you're watching it on TV, though, I'm telling you, don't miss out on a free hallucination. Just look right here between my eyes for just a little bit until I tell you to look away. I'm not hypnotizing you. It's just a trick of the eye and the brain. And now it's good. Now just look at your favorite object in the house and watch it warp out. Wow. Pretty trippy. You don't even need drugs. It's drugs free. Drugs free hallucination right there. Anyway, let's get back to the news.
It's all going to add up sooner than later.
Oh no, it's
the
playing
Biden
again.
administration hiding behind razor wire and...
What the hell? Sorry about that. Always got to have a fuck up on 420 TV. Never a smooth transmission, but that's okay because I'm just a stoner and I'm just looking at the news. So let's actually look at the news here. Which one did I want to look at first? I think it was this one right here. If that's the one. There it is. You remember how I always am talking about how we're living in more than just the Great Reset as far as what they're talking about. We're living in the Great Reset of information, from the culling, in my opinion, of our elderly, to, stories like this. Now, this is funny because this is mainstream article talking about stuff, but nowhere in here do they, you know, draw the lines between this and what's going on digitally right now. Now, we all know about certain workers' parties and hammers and sickles and on and on and on, whether it's religious or governmental, you know, even though one would say those are pretty much the same entities in most cases, or at least at different times. So we're looking through this, and it's pretty cool. It's talking about manuscripts, you know, don't burn them, and all the stuff that, you know, disappeared. And it's pretty trippy. It lists some stuff, Lord Byron stuff, and, you know, on and on and on. A lot of this stuff would be considered hate speech anyway by today's standards, even though there's no way to possibly judge any people living in an alternate time than your own, because you don't have the same factors and you weren't born and lived out the lives with the other humans on the earth at that time. But anyway, so this is real interesting, yada, yada, yada. You could find this article at, what was it? Pocket, right? So it's a cool article. It's talking about manuscripts, but what they don't really talk about is all of the religious burnings of information of, you know, different religions around the world, different peoples that got burned by the Vatican, by the Smithsonian, you know, just constant covering up. And we can go back way in history, the burning of the Library of Alexandria, which most likely all of the good ancient books and knowledge were probably just transferred to the Vatican at that time, or transferred over to the Roman Empire, you know, that became the Vatican. So now we're living in an age where we just censor everything. We don't allow people to talk. We don't allow certain news articles to make the headlines. You're not allowed to say things. And by the way, I tried to upload a video and play it live of Diamond interviewing a lady in the local area where they were talking about various topics related to today's, how shall we say, 1984 experience with certain viral components that's making the governmental forces, the evil forces, so to speak, of the world, tell everybody what they're going to be doing because they want to give the directions around here. But nowhere does it talk about this kind of censoring in today's manuscript burning, in today's censorship, where they're destroying books, your access to books. You can't buy certain books now. It's like we reverted back to one of these dark age civilizations where there's a religion of so-called science and facts that's now dominating the internet and deciding what you can and can't learn, from algorithms to social justice warrior people who decided that they want to change the definition and meanings and yada, yada, yada of everything until we reach a point where we're nothing but a bunch of dumb kind of automatons with no vocabulary, no critical skills and thinking, creativity, or other, you know what I'm saying. But anyway, it's ironic that some of these, you know, stories even make it, and it's all directed, and some stuff's okay, some stuff's not. Like, this is a nice story I thought I would bring to you guys on late night. There once was a dildo in Nantucket on the wives of whalers and their dildos, aka he's at Homes. And this is a whole trippy thing about, you know, a dildo. So let's read it. On Nantucket, 80 years ago, or 80 years old, Connie Congdon. How do I say that? Congdon? Connie Congdon with her dildo. Anyway, I sat at her dim living room looking at a 120-year-old plaster dildo that a mason had found in her chimney. It now rested in a pink dress box on her laptop at my feet. 3 sweet-faced Australian shepherd dog snapped at houseflies or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Let's just skip to it. All right. So if you want to enjoy this nice little column about a dildo, but let's just look at the shit right here. So I think we can look at this picture anyway. There she is, proudly showing her old dildo that, you know, her husband had made for her a long time ago. I think they have a picture of the entire box, if I'm not mistaken, of the dildo. Yeah, there we go. Now we're in business. Now trip it out. Talk about a love box. There's love letters from her loved one and a nice pink stained 5-inch by 1-inch dildo and a pipe there. I mean, God, there's a bottle. So she might have been drinking some hardcore drugs and smoking maybe some plants or maybe some mushrooms. I don't know what she was doing quite there. But she did have her nice handy dandy boyfriend there. You look at that. That's some real artwork there. That's some, that's some craftsmanship right there. I thought you guys would find this funny, though. And if you want to read more and get into the story of the dildo, by all means, go over to this website right here. Doesn't help you do anything, but there once was a dildo in Nantucket. It sounds like what a crazy story. Anyway, that's a far cry from these days, right? Anyway, back in warped out reality land in the future where, I'm sure she was hiding that in the chimney, her dildo, hiding it in the chimney so she didn't, accidentally get found by anybody. I mean, no big deal. Everybody's got to do their thing, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, we'll get back to that. Remember how the circle around, like the Biden press secretary always likes to say, we're going to circle around. And the reason I do that is not just because I'm a dumb stoner. I do play one on TV. But I do that for people that are paying attention to what I'm saying. I have to speak in circles around the algorithm. Like I was talking about a minute ago, there were a certain group of people in Pagosa. They got together and they might not have followed all of the recommendations from the authoritarians about how their appearance looks from the neck up, if you know what I'm saying. So Diamond at the Oppenheimer Ranch channel tried to upload it and they banned it while it was being uploaded. So I downloaded it off of Facebook or copied it or whatever. I tried to put some music with it, and cut it a little different. And still, immediately, right when it was about to premiere, it was banned. Banned. Just like those transcripts that were getting burned in the past, they're doing it in real time now. All right, so check it out. Comedian Bill Burr accused of being racist for marrying a black woman. In this world, it doesn't really matter what you do. If you just happen to be a white dude, for whatever reason, you're the guy that they're attacking right now. So I don't know if that counts for me, because I'm part this and part that. My kids are part this, part that. I guess you can call us white if you're a weirdo that, kind of focuses everything in life and all the differences genetically and historically and ethnically and all of those other ways that people are different and boil them all down to a fucking skin tone. You can be a moron if you want to, but I think that's actually the definition of being a bigot or a racist whenever you think in these fucking stupid terms. But anyway, evidently, they were calling him a racist to begin with, and then people on social media started pointing out that his wife is black. And, instead of saying, oh, well, sorry, we made a mistake, maybe you're not racist, instead they doubled down. They doubled down and they started telling him shit like this, where there's all kinds of articles about this guy for whatever reason. It's just like one person at a time by the cancel culture keeps getting canceled. And they've ran out of things and they just want to, they're targeting their own now. They're eating their own now. And this is the sign of the collapse of a society when the Marxist type ideologies win over. They start attacking themselves and then society falls apart. And we've seen that over and over and over and over again. But that aside, think about it. This whole attack on people because of the way they look and the assumption that they must be fucked up because they were born a certain way. I don't know. I thought we got through this, and I'm going to circle back on this again to the same topic in a minute, but probably and most definitely and obviously they're trying to say that he's dominating her and she's a minority and that proves he's a racist because he loves her or maybe doesn't love her or whatever. It's just like you can't win in this world. These people that want to attack everything and make everything offensive are never, ever going to be satisfied with anything other than the complete destruction of society itself. This doesn't have anything to do with anything, but I just thought I would do it on the rare chance that one of you guys or somebody that watches this or somebody that or somebody, whatever, happened to drive down the interstate and find this very unique chair that belongs to this vet guy right here who looks like he needs it. And I kept thinking, not to be an asshole, but if you ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan, how the fuck did you lose your go-kart? And, well, I read the article. It fell out of the back of the truck. So, but, you know, he wasn't on it at the time, obviously. And it fell out of the back of the truck. So, if you can, you know, unsolve mysteries, I feel like we should play that music. Dun, 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 dun. You remember the shit back in the 80s. But anyway, hopefully this unsolved mystery gets solved and this veteran right here with no legs gets his go-kart back. I'm sure he'd be happy. And that's a pretty cool little chair, man. You know, I really respect people like this because they don't just stop life because shit happened to them. Saw some other videos that was cool the other day. Remember when I was telling you I'd circle around to the video that got played? Here it is. Now, if you don't remember and you have a goldfish memory, no big deal. Most humans do. But if you remember in the John Bound report, they were talking about specific things along a certain geographical area where I happen to live at. And I'm just going to let this one kind of speak for itself right there, if you can read that. So this reporter finds some stuff, and it was dumped in a geographical area, as you can see. So I'm just going to play the video as is, and we'll see what happens, you know?
All these papers, documentation, this person, Rigo Aquilio Figarillo Frios, something like that. Honduras invitation. Look at all this. They tried to rip it up and hide it. And then along with it, kids' socks, condoms, lubrication, and more ripped up documents. Kid's shirt. Looks like a sweater. I pray for whatever kids this guy came in contact with.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, but I do come across things like that, or have come across lots of things kind of in the same context in the desert. Not that bad. But if you've been paying attention to what's going on, there's some really bad shit going along this certain geographical area that I'm not allowed to talk about on this channel because they would just shut you down. Shit, that might even get me shut down. I can do other things that's totally perverse and weird, but you know, I can't talk about reality. It's hard to talk about reality as Politico kind of celebrates the end of humanity. Total sterilization. And if you've been paying attention to me, you don't have to take this article from these guys, you know, as something serious. I've showed you medical research on this channel that shows that everyone is, well, you know, they ain't got no eggs. There's no eggs. There's no tadpoles. Everything is drying up, which can only mean one thing in the long term, and that is a mass culling, a great reset, so to speak. Not just with the information, but literally with the kind of human beings that live on the planet right now. Because everything's changing over to a more designed type of civilization going in through these weather changes that we're about to have. You know, the weather, where you're bad and you cause the planet to mess up. That's why you're being punished. What's up, James Ortiz? So Spotify, speaking of burning manuscripts and tablets, breaking the tablets, blowing up the, you know, the old sites of ancient antiquity, You know, all of those people that lived back then that etched their life and their information into the rocks for all of humanity to learn about in the future. It's all getting blown up. You know, let's just topple some statues and erase everything. And the same thing's going to happen to the television, music, and other things that you've been listening to growing up your whole life, bringing back the point that I tell you, who is the group of people that has brought you the most racism in your life? If you're a TV watcher, that would be Hollywood. Hollywood's brought you every example of racism, examples of racism, stories about racism, racist content, racist language, racist movies. They're the people that kept people out because they were a certain color or ethnicity out of their movies, all of that stuff. It was Hollywood. And now these are the same people that are agreeing with big tech to censor the crap out of everything so much that they're willing to frenzy and feed on themselves in this way. So Spotify is now going to be censoring song lyrics that contain misidentifications, misinformation, information that they don't agree with, which could mean anything at all. Why doing good makes it easier to be bad? What makes people who seem so good in public act so bad in private? Maybe, and this is, I mean, you can read this article if you want. I'm not going to read it to you, but the point is, you can look at this in a couple of ways. A philosophical way about for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction in the universe. Therefore, people that do evil shit behind closed doors seem to have good things happen to them. But it's not really that. It's that they work together and they hide themselves in these little perverted secret places. And if they can't do that, then, you know, they just live another life in private. And another reason is basically because they're fake. They're fake people. That's why they do bad shit when no one's looking. They're probably most likely atheistic and psycho. So they don't believe any kind of repercussion of karma or anything. And they only believe in the physical realm of interaction with people. So as long as they don't get caught, who gives a shit, right? And these are the type of people that run things. These are the type of people that are lawyers. These are the type of people that sometimes become doctors and other things in high stress situations. It's a personality type that seems to do well with these things. And it might be because that personality type can mentally handle living two lives. Two lives like some of the elite live, the public life and then the weird behind the scenes life that, you know, some of us, supposedly a theory, but there's been plenty of evidence to show that. But that's all going to get erased in the new manuscript burning of our era. So you won't ever have evidence of any of this stuff. And here's another one right here. Politico celebrates the end of humanity. And you could go over and check out the Politico thing. Woke parents kind of helping this idea along, in my opinion, where they're volunteering their children to go take brand new experimental things. Nevada bill seeks to auto-enroll residents as organ donors. Whoa, look out, that sounds familiar. What happens whenever all kinds of people start getting charged with crimes and then, you know, the government has to protect themselves and then all of a sudden, like some other country on the opposite side of the world, the government starts getting involved in removing and transplanting things that people need to survive. Yeah. You know what I mean. I'm talking about laying down on a table while you're still awake, strapped to it, taking pieces off they need, auctioning it to rich people that just so happen to need those pieces too. And look out, O negatives, because, you know, it's Fury Road up in this bitch for some people. And let me tell you a secret, me, like millions of other people, I ain't going out like that. But just think about that. The government auto-enrolling people in the program. So just in case people didn't think about it or check it off, you know, they're going to lose their organs, which doesn't really give too much incentive, in my opinion, to keep someone around. You know how they treat babies when they're worth money. So, you know, I'm just saying. Anyway, here's more evidence right here. You can read this article if you want. I'm not saying that they're a great source, but they do make out a point that I also make, that there is only one direction in the world of world government and world religion. and that is a consolidation of ideas. They've pushed this idea of Islam and Christianity mixing into the Chrislam, but they've pushed it even further. A lot of these proponents of this mixing amalgamation of ideas is to homogenize the world, taking away every little last bit of individuality, and at the same time handing over worship of any kind, for whatever reason, if you either believe in it or don't, over to an AI system, an AI God. And you can pray to that AI God and think about it. They can set it up where that AI God can actually take your prayers. They'll just, you can just type it in and send it to this AI God. And, the government and the world government, which is basically the one who programmed said AI, is the master of the entire program. So you would be telling your God, just like back in the day, the governmental system, your God, all of your information that you thought was private, trying to get some kind of salvation out of a nightmare situation of transhumanism and algorithms run amok. But that's all right, because, you can get some money. So, I'm, like I said before, on 420 TV, we advise that you go get your hole in the arm, and then you can take your money that's really your money, but don't worry about it. It's a favor to you. You can have it, even though you earned it. It's your money. We'll give you, 10 for me, 1 for you. 10 for me, 1 for you. Your God will, reignite faith. What a word. Faith in government. And what does faith kind of insinuate? Well, it insinuates that it's a higher power. It's a higher power. You got to worship that higher power. And that higher power is the government. Scientists unearthed meteorite from the birth of the solar system. And this is pretty trippy because they're making all kinds of claims that they can't prove like usual. But it is pretty cool because it allows people to look at a substance that has nothing to do with the formation of Earth if they can get it from the right thing. Just imagine all the stuff that's floating around in space that they tell you is a conspiracy theory. And I'm going to get into that in a minute, because if you're a longtime watcher of my channel through the banned channels, you might remember when I talked about plankton on the space station and plankton on some of the spacecraft that they can't explain how it got up there, where it came from. And, some extremophiles like tardigrades and other things. But we'll circle back to that in just a minute. Mars has much more water than previously known, but there's a catch. It's probably in the rocks. Let's see what they're saying. There's never been much mystery surrounding the murder of Mars. Once warm, wet world, Mars lost its magnetic field more than 4 billion years ago, allegedly, when its outer core cooled, shutting off the dynamo that kept the field in place. That probably, the magnetic field is what they're saying, because they're insinuating that it's the old, elementary school model of how the planets are, with these little weird Russian doll, where you take a peel off a layer and there's another layer and another layer and these perfect cylindrical balls, which is not how the Earth is. It has a skeleton of dense and less dense materials. It's like a big chunk of a sponge that's in a potato shape, in an irregular shape. But they're assuming it's these balls. And I want to point out that I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I'll point out that there's no way that these people could know anything about this, and I'll show you why, because they don't know jack shit about Earth with all their theories and shit, where they keep getting proven wrong and then still trying to spin off theories that they have no proof of whatsoever. Lightning may have sparked life on Earth, study finds. I don't know how they can have a study unless they've created life absent of any already living life. But anyway, this one's talking about how, basically they're doing the same thing that they've been doing. I'm sure you've seen it in movies where they got a little test tube and they got some amino acids and proteins, and now they're starting to add DNA and RNA, which I would argue is already a portion of life. But anyway, they're trying to say that these double helix shapes of these DNA and RNA were formed from lightning strikes, which may be possible. And I'm not even arguing this theory, but I'm just saying they don't know. And actually, it kind of makes sense to me because if you're thinking about more of an electric universe theory, it would make sense that, electricity would find new paths in a way, that just a bunch of elements sitting around in a clunk of rock and stuff. It wasn't going to do that, even if it had water. But maybe lightning did it, but they really don't know. And unless they formed life of their own, God forbid, they wouldn't know. Circle around. Southwest border crossings up pace for highest levels in 20 years, according to the Biden administration. But don't worry. They're going to open it all up. They're making rules where they can buy guns without background checks. We're making rules about not getting rid of anyone. We're going to make a bunch of new citizens. And every country in the world knows this and is sending, I'm sure, as a conspiracy theorist that I am, are probably sending agents that represent different affiliations of all kinds of different organizations, some of those being very nefarious, and I think you guys know what I'm talking about. But it's happening, people. It's the mass distribution of people before the culling. 4 people matching terror watch list just jumped right over the border, no problem. Yeah, they're coming from everywhere with all kinds of backgrounds. 700% over capacity in only 3 weeks. And where children are going hungry and sleeping on the floor, but that's okay, they'll let them out with like that guy that left all that debris in the desert. Don't worry about it, your government will take care of it. And here's one for Latinos, evidently. And I read this, and what they don't mention is most likely that it's not really about them being Latinos, it's about them being obese. But anyway, according to the experts that you should listen to always, COVID-19 is especially lethal to younger Latinos. What is a Latino in the first place? Did you ever think about that? I mean, just like as a stoner moment, what in the fuck is a Latino? Because Latin was a language in Europe and it separated into all kinds of other places. We kind of call them the Romance languages. All kinds of people had Latin. So Latin has nothing to do with what they're using the word for, which is what they're saying is Native American peoples and other native peoples or people from around the world mixed with Spanish people that speak Spanish, which, by the way, are just regular European whiteys, mixed with all kinds of different Mediterranean things over time, like the Moors, and Islam came up in there a couple times. And, you can go way back, but all you'll ever find is that you can't ever segregate somebody down into a specific race because we've been changing and hybridizing and mixing with different peoples and ethnicities nonstop for probably millions of years. And then they want to separate you using these made up words at the same time as telling you can't use other words. What the fuck is a Latino? And that doesn't even make fucking sense. What they're saying is Native Americans for the most part mixed with Spanish people in North and South America. But the whole idea is stupid. So what are they saying is Native Americans are more likely to get it or European Spanish blood? Because what are they saying? It's a sharticle. It's a sharticle, man. So I don't want you to get mad about this, but some of these voting your favorite person things don't work out right. Yeah, that's sick, Simon. In my opinion, what you just said right there. I don't want to repeat it, but yeah, what Simon said in the chat right there is sick. And it's not just that. They're giving them to all of the susceptible groups that they've probably already know who are. So, certain people with like diabetic people, overweight people, elderly people. So, any group of any of these other groups that has those characteristics, underlying conditions, it seems like they are on the list to get those brand new technologies, right? Anyway, so I'm sure you feel confident in the last vote for your favorite guy as politics rolls on in America. But check this out. This is just a story I want to bring to your attention. High schooler and her mother hacked school records to steal the homecoming queen election, police say. But the school administration says that they will hear no theories and that the election is legit, and to say so otherwise is terrorism. And you might get kicked out. No, I'm just joking. I added all that last part, but just think about it. On a small scale, do you ever trust one of these kind of popularity contests? Of course not. They can all be changed. They can all be controlled. And you know that to be fact. So if they turn me off for that, F them. F them. Anyway. Big Bro 2.0, how China is building a nightmarish surveillance state. Isn't that funny? What's so funny about it is that they already built it. They're not just building it. They've been doing this for 20 years. And guess what? You're under that same surveillance nightmare. You are. Cameras everywhere, checking your emotions. Just like I told you, they got machines to check your emotions, to read your effing mind. They can read your mind. And this is what some people cannot wrap their head around, is that you don't live in 1999. You live in 2021, and the technology is far beyond what they're pretending it is. They know all the sciences, all the frequencies of sound, colors, context, to play with your emotions, and they do that all the time on the mainstream movies, news, these daytime shows. Some of us are guilty of watching stuff like that. But as long as you remember it's completely entertainment to look at these idiots that are trying to brainwash you, and to realize that your mind is more powerful than that. And you don't have to fall for these sights, sounds, and other technologies that are messing with you. But how do you fight off a surveillance state that is creating a social credit score for you that'll make it hard to go to a restaurant or concert or go visit another country, and you have to do these certain things, you know what I'm talking about, and the thing. And then, you have to do all of these things. You got to bend over. You got to give 2 good coughs. They need to look in your insides with all of their technologies. And I don't mean that in a fake way. I mean that for real. It's worse than just spread your cheeks and give you 2 good coughs. They're spying on you at every second of the day. Every keystroke is taken. Now, if you ever walk by a machine, it could probably print out the image that you were thinking and the words that you were thinking. These are all real technologies. If you don't believe me, just Google them. Machine that can read your thoughts, a machine that can type down what you're thinking, a machine that can see your dreams, a machine that can tell you what your emotions are doing. They got cameras that can see through your bones to see the chemical changes inside your body. They have machines that can pick up the amount of pheromones in the air and saturation and tell whether or not you're nervous in combination with these other technologies. But I'm just a weirdo. In Twilight Zone. Don't listen to me. I ain't a scientist. I'm just a stoner on TV, or at least I play one. But I have to tell people in real life, I'm not just a dumb stoner. I just play one on TV. What? I'm not really one. Maybe I am. Anyway, back to the news. Back to the warping news. The surveillance state is already here and has been. It's never gone away. And to think that it's happening over there and in that country and not in your country is to say that you're a complete moron and you can't pay attention to what's really going on. That's happening here. They will roll out the social credit score. And in a way, they're using the mob to do it already with some of these topics that are on the forefront of all mainstream media right now. How you dress, how you cover yourself, all of those things, what you're going to do in your private life with your private medical, which used to be private, but it's not. But that makes sense because we're living in a police state. And not only do you not have the Fourth Amendment, but you don't even have control over your body or what kind of information. The Fourth Amendment guarantees that an individual is secure in their person and their papers and effects. but you're not safe in your car. You're not safe in your house. You're not safe with the microphone up your butt that is pretty much monitoring you at all times. We'll circle back to that one. Russia threatens to block Twitter in a month because they keep having arguments about how Twitter, has their own reality, and Russia don't like their reality, and they don't want to get censored and stuff. So they might just block Twitter in Russia, which I'm sure censorship. How do you fix that? More censorship. That's great. Why having kids doesn't necessarily make you happy. That's right. I'm not even going to read this article. It's just another in a long line of articles that are trying to convince people that your natural creator-given right through your DNA on this planet, through millions of years of people living and dying and fighting to live, that why don't you just have fun? You could have a career. You could do anything, and everything is a right except for having your own children on this earth and continuing your DNA into the future. No, don't do that. Having kids, that'll ruin your freaking life. And if you don't have kids, you know what? It'll just help people out like Bill Gates and other people like Ted Turner and Oprah Winfrey and et cetera, that all think that you're stupid and you need to reduce yourself. You need to reduce your families. Well, they have families of 10 or, 12 kids, 6 kids, whatever the hell it is, like Turner, telling you that you need to save the planet by, killing yourself because it's your fault, damn it. 2,000-year-old Bible text found in Israel, first time since the Dead Sea Scrolls. And you know what? This might be an example of when we either find out whether or not the Dead Sea Scrolls are actually frauds, or they're comparable to these new documents, or are they both frauds, or are they just more, evidence of burned manuscripts? As we circle back, talking about the massive amounts of censorship throughout human history. Everything has been hidden, and there's been different ways that mankind has found a way to get around this for some, but in all instances, the elite gather all the knowledge and they reset everything. So sometimes maybe remnants might be found by the wrong person, but let me tell you, if it had anything really super interesting in there, it'd probably be banned. It'd probably be called out as a fake right away. But check this, I want to warn you guys that you guys are all pieces of shit because you don't love the planet enough. Scientists stunned to discover plants beneath mile-deep Greenland ice. Now this is why, circle back, I was telling you guys that I don't trust really much of what they say about the other planets because I figure that they don't know shit and, they keep showing us the same thing. So let me read this article to you and see maybe where you see the flaw in it. Scientists stunned to discover plants beneath mile-deep Greenland ice. Long-lost ice core provides direct evidence that giant ice sheets melted off within the last million years and is highly vulnerable to warming climate. Right? So, scientists found frozen plant fossils preserved under a mile of ice in Greenland. The discovery helps confirm a new and troubling understanding that the Greenland ice sheet has almost melted entirely during recent warm periods in Earth's history, like the one we are now creating with human-caused climate change. Okay, so let me throw some ideas at you. You remember when they said there was no possibility of, like the Perry-Reese map or any of that being real because it showed Antarctica without ice on it, possibly within the last several thousand years when people were sailing around, maybe back 40,000 years because we know people were going into Australia and things like that 40,000 years ago, probably by boat, most likely. 14,000 years ago, for sure, people were floating around the Pacific. But still, they don't want to admit that, maybe they came in boats from different places. But I digress about that. And then think about this. Is this evidence actually that it was global warming that caused a massive ice sheet to melt off? Or maybe it was a comet. Or maybe there was a minimum, a solar minimum, and the Earth, maybe, just maybe, the magnetic field collapsed at the same time as the poles moving. and then a little bit of energy kind of bounces on it, and it just flips a little bit. Not all the way, but just a little bit. And what used to be frozen is now tropical, and what used to be tropical is now frozen. But then, sometime period, it bounces back, kind of like magnetic rubber bands do sometimes, and go back to the original position it was in. And there's other evidence of that, because we know some trees were tropical that they found, having only one ring. But they're trying to use the same evidence to say that, oh, well, it got warm and the ice sheet melted. Well, maybe it did, but was it caused by man then? And if it wasn't caused by man then, why the hell would it be caused by man now? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they need a boogeyman, and they want to charge you and tell you when and how you're going to breathe. That's what a CO2 tax is a tax on breathing air. Think about it. Just crazy idea. But anyway, what if you had a different idea? Oh, and don't worry about it, everybody. Biden Intel Community releases report claiming that China definitely did not influence any of the popularity contest, and that woman and her daughter totally didn't do it either. It's impossible, and you're crazy if you think so. You want to know how crazy it's getting out there? Look at this article. I don't even want to read it out loud because it makes me want to vomit. I will. New York City judge removes 6-year-old from mother because she didn't put that thing over her identity while dropping her off at school. Isn't that sick? What's happening? Do you not feel the sickness that so many people are infected with right now? Biden bucks butchery. This is just horrible right here. But anyway, check it out. We'll circle back to this in a minute. But Biden bucks butchery. Ex-con murders family in cold blood over stimulus check argument. It's the Biden bucks. But anyway, we're going to get back to this in just a minute. But it's time to refresh yourself as we take this short intermission so I can play a video and have a pause for the cause. And you're watching and listening to 177.6 on your freedom of speech dial. Anyway, here we go.
It's all gonna add up sooner than later. The Biden administration hiding. The worst part about the Illuminati globalist mind control propaganda spectacle of the Grammys is that after the horrible year America had endured, it would have been inspiring to witness the real musicians who won plenty of awards perform and speak to the public that supported them.
Stay tuned, because when we come back, Lil Baby gives a performance you do not want to miss.
But at this point, that is probably too much to ask the narcissistic hacks who have hijacked the soul of American music. The real award show would have gotten massive ratings if Grammy-winning legends Bobby Rush, Toots and the My Towels, John Prine, Chick Corea, and many others had been given a moment to receive their awards, some of them posthumously. Instead, American music's night looked more like a funeral in a brothel.
Hips tick tock when I dance. On that demon time, she might start her OnlyFans. Big B and that B stand for bands. If you wanna see some real, baby, here's your chance. I say left cheek, right cheek, drop it low and swing. Texas up in this thing.
Replete with awkward COVID-19 social distancing. Performances from talentless, immoral, demonic prostitutes.
7 days a week. Wet and cushy. Live that pull-out game.
Wait! Did you see that? Wow, Cardi B featuring Megan Thee Stallion. That was amazing. Wow, that was amazing. It's the whole thing. It's a giant shoe, and you got the giant bed. Look. Oh, and it's so soft. What is the thread count? This is amazing. Wow. Oh, guys, wait. I just realized something. This is a dream. This is a dream that I've had, to be in bed with Cardi B.
brainwashing Black Lives Matter propaganda, normalizing the torching of America's small businesses.
When I was growing up, I was taught in American history books that Africa had no history, and neither did I. That I was a savage, about whom the less said the better, who had been saved by Europe and brought to America. And of course, I believed it. I didn't have much choice.
You can't fight fire with fire, I know, but at least we can turn flame some. You gotta pay attention to the signs. Seem like the fine following the blind.
It's a state of emergency. It's been a hell of a year. Hell for over 400 years. My people, it's time we stand. It's time we demand the freedom that this land promises. President Biden, we demand justice.
And of course, the now expected Illuminati music industry parade.
Blood in my lap, wish I could go I'm losing I let a canto, so Palo Santo. For all these demons, wish I could just go
All overseen by the self-proclaimed king and queen of Crowley and magic, Beyonce and Jay-Z. Why has it come to this, you may ask? Because the potential of infinite freedom real American music represents must never be allowed out of its box, which is buried beneath the Grammy stage. Opening that box would spread truth far and wide to a populace that is craving it. John Bound reporting.
Well, isn't that unique? Why would they hide it in a box? I mean, it's not like we're like having a great reset where you don't want a bunch of artists. And like that Spotify, let's circle around and circle back. Remember the Spotify ads? So they're going to start editing stuff. So Disney's going to edit old movies. Fox was sold to Disney. So Disney's going to delete. They're going to elite all of the old movies, you know. The ones that they brought you. Because like I said, every example of racism that you've ever probably seen came off of the Idiot Box, the Television with its programming. Obviously, but most of you guys know that, so whenever you watch it, you realize that. But there used to be some good movies, and there was more freedom and more independent thought, more creativity in the older movies, and I think that's why they realized that and they want to get rid of that portion of it, because you know, a lot of people made some pretty trippy movies that didn't have racism. But the examples of racism and weird stuff actually always came from Hollywood. Those are the people that barred people from playing in movies. Those are the people that got other people that weren't those people to play those people. And that's where you got the dude playing a dude that was playing another dude that was really another dude. And I know that you guys all know what I'm talking about because they do it and they throw it in your face, but then accuse, you know, all of their watchers of being pieces of shit. But anyway, let's get back to the news, man.
The worst part about the Illuminati global...
Sorry about that. Did it again. Anyway, let's go back up here to this news, I believe. Nope, that's different thing. Wrong thing. Here we go. Anyway, speaking of covering yourself up, covering your identity up, you know, and I told you at the beginning of this, I know I did. I told everybody that was watching this channel then that you would just see a bunch of this happening. And the truth is that there is a bunch of this happening and they don't want you to think about it. So think about the things they're attacking right now. Your right to talk about things. So you can't even say something when you don't agree with things anymore. You know, they're taking your right to protect yourself away. But it's okay for people like this to go around, you know, and then they're going to pretend like they don't have all that identification technology when it comes to things like this. They want to leave it to the citizen to solve it, the citizen to figure it out. And I've showed you guys on this channel right here with one of my first videos. I don't think it's on this new channel, but do you ever feel like someone's watching you at 420? Well, they are watching you. And I showed how they, back in the late 90s already, they had drones flying around cities with thousands of cameras attached to the bottom. Like you can just imagine 100,000 Apple iPhone 1080i or higher resolution cameras all in a little honeycomb like a bug eyeball. And it would fly around for hours and hours and hours, taking nonstop, continuous high definition footage of every vehicle and person moving down there, and having the software at that time that looks like this Dragonfly stuff that they're barely showing you from other places that they've been using here for quite some time. That means that any crime ever done could be solved within minutes or hours. But they choose not to share that information with local law enforcement because they want you to live in strife. They want you to live in strife, and they want to bring you more of this nonsense. So Columbia University to hold 7 graduation ceremonies divided by race, sex, and income levels. I would think Martin Luther King would be rolling in his grave right now. Spirit Airlines kicks 4-year-old boy off with autism off a flight for, guess what? Not hiding his identity and muzzling himself, but we'll pretend like we don't notice that the world is going crazy. And here we circle back to this right here. A stimulus check argument led to a quadruple murder, family claims. Right here. A man suspected of killing 3 adults and a child had pulled out a gun and opened fire following a heated argument over dividing a stimulus check, the family says. This is the country you live in, that things are so fucking hard that people are actually tripping and fighting over the bread that the government is throwing them, while they maintain watching circus news and circus shows with fake people so they can spend their emotions on fake people doing fake things in fake situations while they preach at you that you're the piece of shit. And people are losing their mind. Florida man confesses to killing grandfather plus human ears. He pulls, excuse me, I just want to say this right. Right here, this guy. So this Florida man confesses to killing grandfather, and he pulls human ears from his pocket during the questioning. Good God. Good God. Some people are on some hardcore drugs, man. Anyway, a Florida man is charged with murdering his 77. And you know how I tell you about they all 11, 33, 77, and 44. Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, 77-year-old grandfather, and told deputies that he managed to get the knife away and used it on Wells, who was found dead on the front porch with multiple stab wounds. But that doesn't explain why he cut off his ears, man. People are fucking crazy. People are freaking crazy. Let me look in the chat for just 1 minute as I give a crocodile tear for crazy fucking shit going on. Where's the chat? Where's the chat? What are you guys doing in the chat? Let me see. I saw a good comment a little while back, and I was tripping on it. Propaganda. Yeah, okay. Send your kids to school. Wear your thing. Okay, maybe you should remix Down with the Sickness by Disturbed. Actually, if you listen to one of the recent songs I did, 6 Days, is on my Patreon, by the way. But anyway, I can play it later just because I brought it up. I'll just play it at the end of the show just to do that. But anyway, yeah, I mixed that in. I thought about that. Get yourself some record players and grab the funky records from the thrift store. Yeah, they might disappear from censorship. That's not what I saw. I saw something back here that caught my eye. James Crouch, actually, there's a theory that the Earth has a hiccup and it turns about, maybe 60 degrees for a short time and then flips back to its original position. That's what I was referring to. You could hear more about that on like Suspect Skies or something like that, James. Universal Transmitter. Nah, I can't find it. Anyway. Weird times we're living in. And let's talk about those crocodile tears. Human tear glands grown in a lab actually cry. Good. Now they can just, when you go eat your clone steak, you can go pick up your robot that has cloned, like the state that's just auto signing you up for the state that I showed you a minute ago that's just auto signing you up for organ donation. Disembodied human tear gland that cry sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. Actually, I've been saying that every time I'm on here. But in the Netherlands, functional tear glands that don't attach to anyone's eyes or emotions are starting their own real-life drama. All right? They're starting their own real-life drama. Researchers from the, whatever that word is, Institute and UMC. God, where are these people at? Whatever. They got weird names, and I don't want to pronounce them, so you can just read them right there. Hubrecht. I don't know how to say that, but anyway, there it is at this place. Here, let me put my stuff back in the box. Anyway, so whatever. They use stem cells to grow their tear glands in a petri dish, mimicking the real thing. They hope these so-called organoids can serve as models for studying how the cells and human tear glands produce tears. The ultimate goal to be better understand and treat conditions such as dry eye. You know, I don't know how to treat dry eye, but I know how to get it. I know how to get cotton mouth too. Are they growing a mouth in a lab somewhere that's like they're testing it for cotton mouth? Like, look, our soda made it refreshes these stem cell grown lips and tongue. I mean, the whole thing is getting so bizarre. I'm not against this kind of stuff, but where did they get the stem cells? Is kind of where we get into weird stuff. But anyway, let's move on. Let's not fixate on and cry about it. People in California may be having some luck soon as this moron is getting recalled. But you know what? When you think about that election, about the prom, it might not work out for these people that want to recall. Maybe they'll just solidify his win and prove once and for all that Californians are crazy. Or at least they'll try to pull that. And if they don't, you'll just have some other bozo in there that does all the same things that this guy did. So I don't know how well this is going to go for you Californians, but I don't think it's going to really turn out like you think it is. Iron Dome simultaneously intercepts drones, rockets, and high-tech leap. And I've been telling you for a long time, the battlefield is turning over to a robotic battlefield where there's going to be drones, robots, etc., AI-controlled cars rolling up and blowing shit up. Mark my words. All kinds of fundamentalists that have their hands on technology now, and just like the Second Amendment, there's no way to ban it. You can't ban it. People will always do what they're going to do. The people that commit crimes, they were going to commit those crimes regardless. Do you think they gave a fat flying fuck that there was a law against it when they did it? They don't. So people that just think about that stimulus check people or that guy that had the ears in his pocket. I'm sure they knew it was against the law to do those things. I don't know, but when the ship goes down, you better be ready. Or as I used to think the Cypress Hill song of the same name was named something else. I used to think the song said when the shit goes down. And that's how I used to sing it. But evidently it's ship. But both make sense. When the shit goes down, you better be ready. A new study finds that slow walkers 4 times more likely to die from that dreaded thing. So, like, God, I hope you're not fat. I hope you don't have diabetes too, and a breathing problem, and you're Latino, and or Native American, and or just plain American, or you're between the ages of yada yada and yada yada, and this and that. It's just a full-blown campaign to convince you that you're in a small group by yourself, and you have to be worried about this dreaded common thing that's been around. And now they're going to tell you that, you know, you're just going to have to take these helpful medications for years to come, and round after round after round after round, while they admit that it doesn't work because it's an ever-evolving type of microorganism. Anyway, we're going to move on to some other news here. So, like, take a chill pill and stuff. And, yeah. Here we are. I think this is the one. Yeah. Let's check out this video right here. Now, I don't know. This is from his Twitter, so it comes from his show, so they might ban me. So if you guys want to look at it. Anyway, so basically this, let me point at the guy. This guy roasted this guy and asked him some really good questions in which this guy had to admit that there are some new technologies out there. And some of those technologies are being used in reference with this guy and that other stuff that we just circled back from on the last article before I closed it. Because I don't want to say the stuff because you get banned. There's an AI ever watching us. It's the AI God. Circle back, like I told you earlier in the show. I know I'm being annoying with the circle back stuff, but that's the new government way, man. That's the way. Are black holes actually dark energy stars? You know what? I'm just gonna roll on the floor and laugh my ass off because I already did. This is just a bunch of fucking make-believe. They just make up shit. And it's like on all levels of things right now, there is a twisted, distorted view of things that actually haven't been either proven, or some of them are outright things that are just not the way they are. And if you say that the emperor has clothes on, you may find yourself in jail or mobbed by people or the government coming to find you. Scary times. In 1883, 15 manuscript circle back fragments found near the Dead Sea caused an international sensation. And I'll tell you what the sensation is that a lot of people think it's a forgery, that they're forgeries, that they were made up. Now, no one's proven this conclusively, but it is highly suspect when one guy finds 15 manuscripts, but then again, another person might say, but he was the only fucking asshole out there looking for him. So this new stuff that they just found, I want to know, because I don't, are they going to look the same now that someone else found them? And then you're always going to think in your head, well, wait a minute, if they just found them and the other one's probably a forgery, if the new one looks like a forgery, if it looks like the old ones that they found in 1883, maybe these new ones are forgeries too. And you'll never get to the bottom of it where anyone ever admits that with real science, they can prove or disprove the legitimacy of these things. And even if they did, in my opinion, if they had any real revelations for mankind, you'd never see that. It'd never make the light of day. Why is that? Because maybe the AI God is not planning for that, and not unlike stories of Moses and maybe also the Egyptians at the same time, moving over to a cross-worshipping society of one God, or sun-worshipping, whichever way you look at it, of just one God. We're about to go through one of those revelations in society again, where we're forced to not only move over to one God, but one created God. One that has to be God because it's an AI, and AI can access all the numbers. And later, I'm going to get in a show about the shape, and I keep bringing this up, but I will show you that probably the AI can never, ever cross over into that universe of thought, because it just can't. It'll have all the secrets, all the sacred numbers, access to all of that stuff, but it'll never be able to cross over into the, dimension of thought and creativity. Only we can do that with this perfectly designed brain of ours, that must have come from somewhere. But anyway, what a difference 400 years makes. AI Mayflower, notice they're mentioning Mayflower here, will make groundbreaking crewless crossing of the Atlantic next month. Powered by solar energy, craft will chart some 3,000-mile route taken by ship that brought 102 pilgrims to America in 1620. Now, for those of you that don't know, right around 1670, I believe it is, or maybe it was 1620. I think it might be 1620. Is when slaves were brought to the United States by boat. And the reason I'm making this correlation is because the controllers keep bringing this concept up and putting it in your face, even though they act like America was the first and only country to ever have slavery out of nowhere, even though the entire world ran on it, and I would say still does. But this might be significant in the way that AI is making this groundbreaking, crewless crossing of the Atlantic. So you might get where I'm going with this. that a repeat in history that they're comparing this to is ushering in kind of like this new generation that we're going to be going, where the masters and the elite may be never seen again as they hide behind AI, to where we get to a point where you don't even know if people are in this loop. And I want to tell you, I think that's already the case, because government is just the top layer, top rung that you're allowed to see. You're not allowed to find out who runs the private Federal Reserve Bank, and you're not allowed to know who the movers and shakers are that actually decide things at that level. You're only allowed to look at the faces of the people that they say run the countries in these popularity contests, or, you know, by authoritarian, you know, decree or whatever. That's the only ones you're allowed to look at. So yeah, AI boats, AI bombs, AI drones, AI everything. Everything is AI. And soon you're not even going to be allowed to drive. Mark my words, you'll have to have special insurance to drive your evil gas-powered antique down the road with your, you know, antisocial ideas about how you want to dress yourself from head to toe, if you know what I'm saying. But even though they want to integrate you into this entire AI world, study after study by these same, you know, people and other people show that only negativity is happening to human beings in this transhuman movement. Smartphones reveal in a new TAU study, stress, anxiety, social media, people judging you, people acting like they actually give a fuck, when back in the day, not too long ago, before everybody was caught up in the interwebs, and it's called a web for a reason because it captures its prey, and unfortunately this is the medium that we have to communicate, but you got to remember that you're in a trap. You're in a trap set by an AI, basically, in my opinion. But anyway, look, the excessive amount of time spent in social media is also like cause teeth grinding and facial muscle pain and all kinds of stuff. But if you think about it, it's just the people that are falling susceptible to this are the people that don't realize that it's a control mechanism. For those of you that know it's a control mechanism, you're out there surfing through it, you're looking at the propaganda, you're moving through it like, you know, it's the wind. For other people, they get stuck down in a muck in the web, and, you know, they get programmed by it. But it might not just be, you know, the interaction with the social media and all of that stuff. It might be just the simple thing of, look at people, how they act when they can't find, you know, they have their phone with them at all times. If they can't find their phone, they have a meltdown. People are getting mad at each other over nothing because they didn't call them or, you know, respond to their messages. So they're tripping. They can't handle it. It stresses them out. But you don't have to be stressed. You can just unplug it. Use that cell phone like a home phone. If you remember the home phone, you know, it's stuck to the wall. You just plugged it in. It stayed there. If you didn't want to answer it, you didn't want to answer it. People didn't have a fucking meltdown. And then not only that, you could walk away from the shit, go outside, and be cut off from the phone web. Anyway, New York High Court backs judge who made a blogger write an essay and delete negative comments. More manuscript burning, because it's the Great Reset. And you will understand that in this new society, you don't have an opinion and you better shut up, or the state will intervene in your ideas and your First Amendment and your Second Amendment and your Fourth Amendment, because those are just fantasies of a forgotten time. A forgotten time right here. Liberation at 30,000 feet on the freedom of early airline stewardesses. I don't even know what this article's about. I was just mesmerized by the picture there. This is back when a stewardess, you know, they wouldn't think of removing you from an airline for saying or doing something or not being covered in the right way. They would never kick you off. There were people in there smoking cigarettes, drinking scotch, bourbon, and other things. to relax and calm their nerves. Each one of those seats equipped with an ashtray. Now, I'm not saying it's cool. Maybe I do or don't agree with smoking tobacco inside. I agree that other people that don't want to smoke it shouldn't have to smoke it. That's cool. Everybody agrees that's common sense. However, the concept of how much has changed over time, and I'm talking about the freedoms that have evaporated from all around you, are pretty in your face when you watch some of these old movies, by those Hollywood people, when they were flaunting all of these things, when they thought some of these things were negative and would have a negative influence on you, like smoking and drinking and pornography stuff, if I could talk, pornography, things like that. When they wanted you to indulge in those things, they pushed it on you. But now they're going to ban all those things. And really what it was is they wanted to push the worst of things as your freedom, so that later they could attack everything and say it's all obscene and offensive. The world we live in right now is kind of like a Puritan nightmare, but it's ran by, an AI and a bunch of SJWs that are just following trends that may or may not be written by algorithms. Think about that shit. Wrap your noodle around that one. Deep Eye Swede. I wish. Where do you get that? Anyway, remember a time forgotten. Psychologists reveal why harmful to keep calling millennials entitled. I want to circle back to the article I just showed you. These guys were entitled because they had freedom to do shit. Maybe it's because millennials have helped weld the fucking bars around us. And I don't know about entitled, but they sure got played by the controllers. No doubt in my mind about that. Fauci's so disturbed that some of you guys out there are skeptical about experimental. And I say experimental because he himself, circle back, I showed you, said he said it himself. So you can go back to that part in the video and then look and watch that video I showed. See, I'm not going to put a bunch of links and shit because I know you guys are smart and you'll just go back to this video. Canadian health chief says COVID restrictions must continue even after taking your vaccine. Oh my God. Now this is some more sick stuff right here. I want you guys to watch this. A lot of some people even sent me, like 3 or 4 people sent me this, like to cover this. I already had it kind of open. I just didn't do the news yet. But here, let's check this out. Sorry, I was having a malfunction. But anyway, quite disgusting. They tried to insinuate that they were, enforcing the new social rules about the issue that's going on in society all over the place. You know, that thing they're pushing about, look at all those good soldiers there covering. Well, you can't identify them really. Look at all of these protesters too. Look, but you can't identify them really. So what do? They go out there and start beating up a bunch of women that were complaining about not feeling safe because recently one of those exact guys did some, or allegedly did some bad stuff to one of them, and they were having a thing. So, you know, of course, logically, you send the police to further brutalize the women because that makes sense. You don't allow them to defend themselves, and you further go out and just look, the state brutalizing you right there. Tell me you don't live in a police state there and here. I'm not like judging you guys, but you know, damn. Disgusting. Look, this person, I need you to read this because, you know, we've got to that point and the algorithm's going to get better or to where I can't even show you stuff. But right now it's kind of based on what I'm saying. So I want you guys to look at this while I look at the chat. I'm sure you see the headline there. Right there. Right. So you're not supposed to notice that this new technology might be, you know, doing stuff. So if you read any of these headlines right here, there's a point that they would very much like to bring up. And in every single one of these articles over here, they're trying to point out that it was not his recent, you know, medication that caused this. Even his wife came out and said she knows for a fact, like she's a doctor, that it wasn't that. And, you know, you'll get in trouble for talking about or saying that this is not actually what they're saying it is because, you know, you could read this whole thing and nowhere in here do you see that word that describes the thing that they put in your arm because it's not that thing. This is a new technology. And although some people say that it's not, you know, learn to code, this is a thing that teaches your information how to code so that it can make proteins that can go program or disable or turn on or off other letters and amino acids and stuff. You know, it gets all crazy stuff working together. Maybe not exactly like that because I don't want to say the exact words of things, but if you can read on the screen there, that thing right there develops, it's a new category, right? Although they tell you it's in a different category, the truth is it's a new category. And, you know, it's not just a new category, it's a new technology. And I want you to go out of your way to read it. It's crazy. So let's move on to this. So me and Anna and Oppenheimer's telling me that there was a 4.5 earthquake right next to me, and no, I did not feel it. Hey, hold on. Let me see. What? No. I did not feel it, sir. Anyway. Yeah, I didn't feel it. Evidently there was an earthquake. Hey, Anna, you want to come in? So me and Anna did an experiment. Hold on, we'll get back to this. Let me go over here. Woo! We'll go back to this over here. YOLO. Welcome to 420 TV. It's Anna from the Raven Wolf channel. She didn't want to be on camera, but there she was or whatever. Okay, so basically InfoWars wrote an article and I'll be showing
yeah, I would like you to go over the article first and then we can talk
okay.
Hi everybody in the chat.
Diamond wants to be brought in right now. Hold your thought.
Okay.
Hold your thought, and
Okay,
we'll see what he wants. We'll tell him to call on the Skype. You can call on the Skype. Yo. Bring him in. This is the only way I can bring him in right now. Actually,
What?
There it is. Don't stare at that too long or you'll have a hallucination if you look away if you're on TV. All right, so let me fix up my super duper technology and we'll just do this. Turn this on. Can you guys hear that? Of course you can. This is how we do my... Diamond, how's it going? You're live on 420 TV.
Holy crap-a-moly. I better pack a bully.
See what they're saying in the chat here. So were you telling me an earthquake just happened next to me?
Yeah, 4.5 just happened on the border near Juarez.
Wow.
Very rare quake.
Yeah, that's
probably one in probably the top quake in 40 years in your region.
Wow.
I didn't feel anything.
I wonder if it was by Juarez, it most likely was down. I think the name of it is the San Andreas Mountains there in the Oregon Mountains, which is like a fault line next to me. And it goes right down into El Paso and Juarez.
Well, it just popped up on USGS. Let me give you the stats. It probably actually happened quite a bit ago. Yeah. White City. You know where that is?
Yeah. It's right north right next to El Paso.
5.7 kilometers south of White City, a 4.5 confirmed. It was downgraded because it was confirmed at 4.6 and 4.7 at other sites, but it happened at a really shallow depth. And remember when you and I were talking about a volcanic eruption in New Mexico?
Yeah.
Because of we have Sunset Crater, we have those huge lava flows in the north of the state. Well, we wouldn't expect it to happen at the same exact spot. That would be almost ridiculous to expect things to happen on the same area. But this type of activity is indicative of something unique happening below you guys. And being cratonic, meaning, and what I mean by that is not near a plate boundary. The only thing that happens in the subsurface below New Mexico is lava pushing up and then erupting out, because that's the last thing that happened was just 1,000 years ago when it happened. So pretty interesting. You guys might be living in Hawaii in a bit.
I was wondering that because I was just about to ask you about the Three Rivers or Valley of Fire lava flow that would be, I'm going to say 120 miles north of that earthquake.
Yeah, and you sent me the geologic map of that about a week ago.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't really look at it. I know that those flows are recent. Do you have any dating on those flows down there?
I believe that they said on the little sign there that they were 1 million years ago.
Okay. Well,
let me look. I'll just look right now.
I mean, yeah, you can look, but you could take that with a grain of salt, because just a few hundred miles north of there, we have lava flows coming out 1,000 years ago. So if the ones to the south are cooled earlier, they're from the same volcanic vent system that is causing these eruptions on the craton at the plate where you guys are at, either north of you or a little bit east, west and south of you in this case. So,
yeah. So
what are you finding?
Am I showing you guys that? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, it's next to Carrizozo. And what's trippy is they say it's that old, but when you look out there, you see all of this black lava, and it has no erosion on it, really. It's all fresh lava. I mean, like, there's...
Yeah, so if they're claiming that's 1 million years old and you don't see erosion and soil and houses, and then that's very questionable. Because, I've shown you things that are 15,000 years old. All the valleys we've walked in that are Pueblo in Utah, etc., where we see those cliff dwellings. I've shown you that erosion that's recent. So you're a pretty good. You have a good eye at understanding what natural weathering occurs on the surface, and I'll go with your gut on that one.
Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong place. There we go. Anyway, it doesn't look like it's millions of years old to me, because I've seen other million-year-old lava, and it has like cracks, and there's tons of dirt in the cracks and in the crevices. And when you walk out there, you can clearly see the cone from the thing, and it goes down the entire valley. I think about maybe 60 miles or so, and it just rolled down the valley just like a river. But there's barely anything on it. Like some cactus and stuff has started growing, like some real hardy stuff, because there's no soil at all on it.
Well, let's talk about that and just get to brass tacks with the reality of science. So a million years of weathering. Now, listen to me. I've seen a million years of weathering all over the world, and it includes soil profiles, extreme gouging, and all types of erosional features that you're not seeing out there.
Okay.
And what we also know is that 12,000 years ago in your region, it was a deluge. There was flooding and all kind of epicycles of huge deluges of rain. So if there's no soil there, if you could see black lava, someone's
5,000.
claiming, and any geologist claiming that it's a million years old would have a huge battle uphill.
Yeah, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. The BLM site says it's 5,000 years ago.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and this,
Okay, so it's the same complex, and where you are, it erupted 5,000 years ago, which could be plus or minus a few thousand. And we had a major event 6,800 years before present that could be the trigger for that event. It was a major cooling event on Earth, and that type of cosmic ray flux could have caused this type of eruption in your region, which extended all the way through the Maunder minimum, all the way through the Dalton minimum. The last eruption was about 1,000 years ago, and now we are here today to re-witness the ripping apart of Earth, the emergence of these types of lava flows. And the reason I started my channel was to report on this shit, and it's totally exciting.
yeah, and you know, this is the location that I've shown to everybody that has all the, you know, Peratt instabilities and stuff like that on it. It's right next to it. So these people were looking, you know, I don't know if it was happening exactly at the same time as the lava flow, but right next to the lava flow is all of these depictions of Squatter Man and the centipedes and all the calendars and different depictions of tourist bubbles and stuff. It's on everything.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, why wouldn't it be at the same time, in my opinion?
Yeah.
Maybe the petroglyphs came slightly before the lava flows, but irregardless, the people in that Four Corners region, from your area, you know, hundreds of miles north to where I am, and east and west, all of the same petroglyphs. And not only in North America, Sardinia, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, all of Europe, Asia, Australia, we're all the same depiction.
You think we're actually going to get to see some stuff in the sky in the next decade or so?
Well, I think it's a little sooner than that, to be quite honest.
Wow.
Because, yeah, we're going to reach solar maximum in just 3 years. And if the magnetosphere is waning at the same speed it has, in 3 years it will have waned even more. So we're talking approaching the 40% flexure point, where a friend of ours over in the UK claims that that's when the magnet snaps. You know, when you move magnets together on the ground, how at some point they snap together. Well,
Yeah.
he thinks the 40% is the crux, and that should happen in a year or two. But in the next year or two, we're going to be accelerating into solar cycle 25. We should see more solar output from the sun. And with our waning magnetosphere, we could see a solar flare approach Earth, even in the C, low M range, that will take out small portions of the grid. If we have an X flare that's Earth facing, we could literally look at a small Stone Age event for a small portion of the planet, and that's like game on, because it will trickle down away from that region. Could you imagine, Ransom, if a third of the U.S. were to go blackout, let's say tomorrow, because of an event, and then the population was told in a day or two that the power won't come on for a year or so? What would happen in those regions?
It would be complete devastation, especially if it was in the summer. Like around where I live, or all through the south, or in the winter and in the north, everybody would be dead.
Well, the summer situation is the worst because everyone is mobile, right? They're on their feet, even homeless people. they can react immediately from the situation. And this is what happens in populated regions. Once the word gets out of what happened and what will not happen, meaning, can you imagine telling a bunch of criminals, homeless people, that the power is not going to come on for a year?
Right.
What would they do?
They'd pillage and take everything. Entire society
Immediately.
would break down. All the cities would be full of poop. Right? Everybody'd be sick from that. All the diabetics would be dying because they couldn't chill their medicine. I mean, it would be utter chaos.
Yeah, so we're not talking about a rare phenomenon. This is not something that might happen. This is something that will happen.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really I don't think they grasp that.
No, I don't think they do either. And everybody thinks that, things will just keep on rolling and people will take care of them. The government will keep, sending them checks to bail them out or whatever. I was just showing everybody this. Well, let me put it back on there. So basically, I've been showing, and I know you do constantly on your channel, that everything's waking up. Mauna Loa, is that how you say it? Or Mauna Loa?
Yeah, Mauna Loa.
Yeah, so they're all waking up, and then I saw this ridiculous article I talked about earlier that was talking about, it's your fault that the planet's warming up because last time when it warmed up, it buried some plants or something because the ice melted in Greenland. So, it's just funny. And I noticed you've been talking about a lot. Why isn't the USGS kind of showing the situation in Iceland? What's the deal with that? Like, when you look at the map, it shows everything else.
Well, I mean, if you approach it from a liberal standpoint, you would go in there and you would say, well, the USGS doesn't show a lot of earthquakes around the world. They barely show 10% of the quakes in Mexico and Central America. They barely show any of the quakes in North Korea or Russia. And that's just simply because they're not partners with us scientifically.
Oh.
However, in the last decade, the whole world is connected scientifically. But so I think it's a poor excuse to actual knowledge. If the USGS is really going to have a worldwide map where they show seismicity, because we all use that map.
Yeah.
The USGS map is the world, right? Why are they limiting data from Central America and Mexico and Iceland? It doesn't make sense. What does make sense is that the USGS is tied to the U.S. government, which is tied to NASA, NOAA, and all other corrupt organizations, which are manipulating the data. They're manipulating the information you can get, and they're manipulating the narrative so that if impending doom is coming and seismicity is actually increasing, why would a government group that is in control of that information actually tell you that?
Right. How many blackouts do you think we'll have that are planned, or just is that just a dry run because they know that our infrastructure's old, they haven't repaired it, and it wouldn't take much from the sun to knock everything out?
Well, I don't think there will be on purpose EMPs from our own country.
No, I meant rolling blackouts, like they turned off these fans in Texas.
Yeah, well, that happens to do with poor policy and bad infrastructure. It doesn't have to do with available electricity. So that has nothing to do with what's coming.
No, I know that, but I know that our just regular power lines and stuff are all 60s stuff. They just keep throwing it back up to there.
Well, I think here's the problem, and here's what we have to look for. If there is solar flaring happening, and when solar flaring that's going to affect the grid starts happening, it'll start happening in groups. So we're going to see some major flares, maybe some other sunspots that are going to circle around the sun. It's going to take 14 days for that to happen, and they'll come back around again and hit us again. So we're going to have some warning to these solar flares. Now, if other governments have warning about the solar flares, they could launch EMP weapons.
Yeah.
to interact at the same time when the solar flares are going to hit. So it'll be very confusing as to what happened. And this will be an act of war. And countries around the world know about what's coming. And that's why the general population is not made aware, because this is now a weapon of war. The EMP product is a weapon of war, which is also coming from the sun at the same time as this weapon of war is now available.
Well, what do you think about just like a bunch of infrastructure frying? Like yesterday, my breaker box, my main breaker just started sizzling and frying out, you know, and I went over there and I had to fix it, pull it out and get a new one. But when I pulled it back, I got to see years of, burning and drying out of the plastic and hardware and the copper because it had been arcing over for like, God knows, maybe a decade or something. But anyway, the entire thing kind of crumbled in my hands. And I was just thinking that, a lot of these trailer homes, buildings, and different stuff have all of the wires in the walls are basically, like it wouldn't take much to heat them up. Do you see ever us having that kind of, coronal mass ejection that actually can just fry out all of the generic stuff, which would really account for a majority of the poverty-stricken populations of places all over the world?
Yeah, well, that's going to be a shit show, certainly when it does happen. But I implore everyone to set up some kind of a shut-off switch before your breaker box, before the house. This can be done for less than $100. If you know someone that's an electrician, there could be a shut-off switch. And if the grid is still up and you're still online, you will have ample warning 18 to 24 hours before a catastrophic event enter the grid and light up your house. And if you're able to shut off the grid before your house, you will prevent your house from lighting on fire. So that's the number one thing I can recommend to the general public out there. But for them, and unfortunately, you bring up a good point, Ransom, that the masses, think of the millions of people in cities, impoverished people that never even saw YouTube or have heard a word from alternative media sources. They're completely clueless. Will they get warning? Will they know what's happening? If they're in the 13th story of a tenement in the middle of North Philly, so to speak, and the AGS 35 flare hits the city, it will light the wires on fire. There'll be fires everywhere. Buildings will light on fire. It will be mass chaos. And I think the reason not to warn the masses about what's coming is for mass casualties. The less people after the fact, the less people are coming for them.
I was kind of just making this point earlier. If, for conspiracy theory, fantasy, theoretical purposes, if there so happened to be a group of people on the earth that wanted to kind of cull or reduce the population, do you think they would warn you, or do you think that they would, completely keep you distracted with nonsensical nonsense all the way to the last minute to, just like you said, have the most amount of people die possible from the situation? It's like if you were going to cull a bunch of stuff, but you had the option of letting all the chickens, kill themselves, it would be easier, and you just go pick them up and collect them.
Yeah, well, that's the unfortunate information that we could share right now. And let's just say 80% of the population is completely, they're completely unplugged from the reality of what's happening. So 80% of the population is complicit. They shop at the supermarket. They see prices going up. They do whatever they're doing. They're wearing 1 mask, 2 masks, 3 masks, 4. Alcohol's a whore. But we know that's happening. So there are a bunch of deluded people. And I will say that in my area, I'm going to say 30% of the people are total cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Wow.
They're the people that are walking down the street with a mask, or riding on their bicycle with a mask, or in their car alone with a double mask with the window down.
You never
so those people, I don't think
can be safe
we
enough.
can help them. I don't think we can help those people, Ransom. And then we got 50% of the population that's complicit. They're just nonsensical. They watch the mainstream. They go to work as a slave, they barely pay the rent, and then it just repeats in a cycle.
Yeah.
So that's 80%. That's 80% of the population. And then you got people like you and me who are totally against the grain. And like someone like you, I mean, the things you've told me that you've been doing for 10 years, most people couldn't do that and live. And the things that I'm doing, most people don't know how to do that either, because we're working completely outside of the box. You know what I'm saying? And the ideas that are coming to me through this stream of consciousness that I've been living for 6 years are ever increasingly more productive. So what I'm saying is that I'm now in a position that we're now getting a sawmill and a planer, and we're going to be harvesting dozens of acres of wood we have here and creating wood to create value, because wood is skyrocketing and people are placed away from these products. So I think everyone out there needs to think outside of the box as we move forward towards a catastrophe or a global reset, which the schmucks that we hate are forcing. The rest of us can think in an alternative way and capitalize on the back end. So while we separate from these schmucks and we create our own society, they're going to create their own fake narrative that I think is going to be blinked out in an instant by our glorious sun.
So
I can't wait for it to happen.
Wait.
Everyone out there, it's gonna happen in 3 or 4 years. So we're all good. Invest in Bitcoin, make $1 million, take it out in the next 2 years, survive and prosper, quit your job, tell your employer to suck it, and concentrate on family and community and harmony and experiencing life on life's terms. And what I mean by that is wake up, be respectful, have a huge gratitude that you woke up this morning, go out and smell the air, and Shinrin Yoku. I don't even know how, I can't say it any better.
Shinrin Yoku, which is excellent. I mean, that's something, you know, whenever you started that channel, I was thinking, you know, that's something I've always done and no one told me that I was supposed to or that it was a thing. Or some people call it forced bathing or whatever. You know, I wanted to ask you one last question about this. Like, how fast and how cold is it possible that it may get if, you know, numerous volcanoes like we're seeing, I mean, you've been reporting on them, are all starting to pop their tops at the same time, putting all kinds of, you know, microscopic debris up into the atmosphere. Is that a possibility that we could change over to an ice age, like actually, like some people suggest, within like 5 years, 10 years, and bam, we're there?
No. And we have the data. Well, I mean, we have the data for the last 5 interglacials that are very high resolution. We have them from multiple sources. And then they've been re-corroborated for the last 30 years through proxy data, meaning different scientists look through the same ice cores. And a certain group of scientists take out the pollen. A certain group of scientists take out the oxygen isotopes and bubbles. A certain group of scientists take out the particulate. Some group of scientists take out, let's say, microscopic organisms in the deep sea, like foraminifera, which are little tiny silicious animals that are actually causing the Earth to breathe. And so there's a whole group of different proxy data that comes out of the ice. And we've been researching this for 30 years, Ransom. So we know for a fact, paleoclimatologists like myself that do this for a living, and we did it at university level, we delved into the data. We know that the same thing has been happening every 20,000 years. Every 100,000 years, we know the cycle. We know the cycle back about 500,000 years at a very high resolution. And there has never been a catastrophic ice age type scenario like you're describing. It all takes time. But what can happen in a lifetime or in 100, 200, 300, 500 years in a small scale geologically, we can have a reset in the entire climate of the planet. If the temperature, and you're asking about the eruption. So let's get to the brass tacks of the eruption. We have direct data for the last 80 years on major eruptions like Pinatubo and other volcanoes that have dropped the temperature a degree and a half for 1 to 3 years in recent history. And then we have the proxy data to show that other major volcanic eruptions for the last 10,000 years have dropped the temperature 2 or 3 degrees, actually resetting society. Now, what we don't have is the bigger data set, the 12,900 year cycle. We don't have that data set that's repeated again and again. But when we go look at the information and we delve into the past, the paleoclimatological past, we can see that the Neanderthal species ended at a magnetic reversal that happened 42,000 years ago, the same time a supervolcano erupted. So, supervolcanic eruptions above VEI 6, we're talking VEI 6 and 7, literally can reset the planet in a few years. Now, I don't think the people listening understand what that is, because the majority of the people that watch my channel are asking, like, how many VEI 3s equal a VEI 6? It doesn't work that way. A single VEI 6 or 7 eruption equals 100 million VEI 3s. You see how the math doesn't add up?
Yeah.
Do you imagine how long we would have to wait for 100 million VEI 3s?
I actually had some articles set up here about new strains in space of microbes, and that's an environment that
I saw that.
Yeah, huh? What was that?
I saw that article earlier.
Yeah, so
I saw that earlier today.
And they're talking about, like insinuating maybe microgravity, or I didn't see much. I don't remember seeing that possibly, like, just being out there with cosmic rays could, push evolution right there with those things. And also, like, what do you think about that when they're trying to say that, life would be limited down here, that there's new strains of things, but obviously some organisms can live pretty easily in a vacuum, or what it's called a vacuum, or the space is fluid there, but things are living up there. And that's not the first article. Actually, probably 10 or more years ago, I read another article about plankton growing on the outside of the ISS, and I bothered to bring it up. I think it was on the last channel. What do you think is basically how do you think that comes about, and why is it that with evidence like that they try to act like they're not probably going to find microbes in other places, not complex life forms, but just microbes? Because I keep reading article after article where they're insinuating that somehow they know how life started.
Well, dude, Ransom, you just answered. I think you've answered all of your own questions, and it adds insult to injury to just human intellect. Now, listen, let's take it from the beginning. What we have is scientific information coming out that there are new, unique microbes living in space on a space station that we created. And there's more evidence that there's more biological information in space than we have known about day by day. So if we have these microbes living in space, now listen, this is almost outside, completely outside our magnetosphere. It's certainly outside of our atmosphere, which is the number one, and the ionosphere, which protects us from this radiation. So we have microbes that are living in this quote unquote vacuum, bombarded by cosmic radiation, and they're still living. It says a lot about the human species on Earth during a magnetic reversal that will probably make it. And we have the evidence that we always make it. But what it also shows is that life is so easily to survive in these environments that to even think that we're unique or special is almost embarrassing, because our human sweat and fungus and ass hairs will create microbes on a ship that we shoot out into the most extreme cosmic ray environment, and yet something will survive.
Yeah.
And yet they're telling us that there's, for the majority of history, there's nothing possible out there. And what all that means, if there's some unique slime on a space station, holy macaroni, that means that there's life everywhere in the universe. And then if you can sit down and smoke a big fatty and really soak it in, that means just within, let's just go out 20 light years from here. There is 100 million, billion, trillion times a trillion infinity available spaces for life to happen just within 20 light years, and then expand it to infinity because the universe is infinite. So what you end up with is something so expansive as far as life is concerned that it's mind-boggling. There are so many life forms in this universe that we haven't even begun to understand what that means. And guess what? None of them are coming here to eat us up.
I guess two more just questions, and I'll let you go. Are you trying to tell me that we're going to circle back? Because I've been joking about that, the whole thing. So we're going to circle back. Are you trying to tell me that the sun drives weather? No, I'm just kidding. But I have a serious question.
Yeah.
Do you think if we double mask it, it'll protect us from all these new do you think astronauts, when they go out in space that are worried about new strains of bacteria and fungus and other viruses and stuff, do you think they'll probably just wear like a couple of masks and they'll be safe?
Well, when I heard COVID-19 was on the space station, I laughed hysterically because I knew that they were testing with PCR tests above 45 cycles. So
you can get anything.
What we know about that, yeah, you'll have everything. Anything you want to get, you'll have it. So they all had it. And can you imagine if we had like alien viruses, like a list of them, they would all have those as well. So that's pretty amazing.
Wow.
But I guarantee that no alien virus has ever killed humans except every virus that ever killed humans.
Yeah,
because every virus is alien and every human is alien, in my opinion.
Wow. Hey, Diamond, thanks for calling in and telling us about the local earthquake here. That would be a trip. I kind of had this thought before that I would be maybe possibly be the only guy filming my drone over a new cone out there.
Yeah, I think you're going to do it. But one question I want to leave with your subscribers and your listeners is this. The human species is the only species on Earth that requires clothing, that requires shelter, and that his poop is so dangerous that they can't even eat it. I mean, that's how dangerous our poop is. We are not from this Earth. Something is amiss, and we're not being told about it. There are black people, there are white people, there are yellow people, but the problem is our genetics are not matched to this solar system. So we came from elsewhere, and we're now living in a slave planet controlled by evil fucking people.
Wow. I think I might have said that before somewhere. Anyway, thanks, Diamond. Thanks for coming on.
Boom.
Boom. Peace out. He hung up. All right. Well, that was a trip. What an unexpected guest. Thanks, Diamond, for calling up and telling us all kinds of cool ideas. I hope you guys aren't hallucinating too bad if you're watching on a TV. If you're epileptic, I don't know what to tell you. I guess you shouldn't be watching my stuff. But anyway, so we're going to get back to this experiment that we did. If I can find it here. Where is it? We did a little experiment because, I show InfoWars articles all the time, and usually I go to the original article first, and I might show you if they have a better, display or whatever for the idea. But a lot of people talk shit because they don't like Alex Jones. That's fine. I'm not very fond of him myself. I have some problems with him. However, they do bring up a lot of good topics and articles, and they do source their material for most of their stuff. So I wanted to show you guys this. Boom. So they wrote this article right here. And we'll go down the article right here. State teach children Christianity guilty of the, what is that, theocide against indigenous tribes. Okay, so they go on to say controversial curriculum proposed by the California Department of Education will have students chanting the names of Aztec gods once worshipped in human sacrifice rituals. And I had our very own, expert on Mayan and Aztec gods, or at least somebody. Hold on. Did I get banned, or are you guys still watching me? I hope I still have a channel. Let's see here. Let's look.
Oh no.
Huh? Hello. You can't find my channel? Hello. Here, I'll send it to you here.
Yeah, you're still live.
They don't like me in the algorithm.
Tell them
Yeah.
I'll send them a link on Skype.
I bet none of them have content. No, I bet some of them do. Let's see my channel here. Here we go. I'll Skype it to you. Right? Anyway, here's the channel. Boom, right there. On your Skype.
He's still, I don't think no, he's still live.
Sure. I think. I'm still here, they're telling me. I thought I got banned again. Yeah, I'm still live. No, I thought I got banned because you said you couldn't find my channel, so I went to look, but I'm still here. Thank the Lord. Yeah. You want me to just put you back on live? I think. Oh, well, they can hear you, I think.
Yeah, you're live. He's still live.
Anyway. Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. Cool. They think they're hallucinating because I got the thing out. Anyway, cool. I'll call you back and get details about that in just a minute, or send you a message. Cool. Peace. How do you hang up this thing? Oh, there you go. All right, so I think we're back live, right? Where am I?
Yeah,
am I here?
Live. You're still live, yeah.
I can't find my mouse. My mouse is missing. Okay, here we are. No, that's not it. Here we are. Live TV, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, okay, so I had Anna check it out. So tell me, is this a fair, accurate article here that insinuates that the government of California is kind of pushing kids into worshiping, or because it seems to me like they're insinuating that they're pushing them towards worshiping human sacrifice and cannibalism. Is that true?
No. No, but scroll down to the where it says about the prayer.
Show me where.
Right there.
Right here?
One chant called the Inlake affirmation is a prayer to the Aston God Catholic.
Here, get closer. Can you guys hear her? to make sure that can you guys hear Anna? Yeah, YouTube should know that I'm not going away. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So the chant.
Yes, they're calling it that is a prayer Aztec or Aztec prayer or whatever, but it's not an Aztec prayer. The
closer.
I just don't want to be
Here.
in the camera.
That's all right. We're not showing you. So here you are. Now you're in the camera.
No.
Not good. Not good. They're saying. I don't know. Are you guys talking about the audio or the chant?
Are we muted?
No, we're not muted. We're good to go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're not looking at it. Okay. So I was saying it's not an Aztec prayer. It's actually a poem, and I think I sent you a link of the poem so we can show it.
I don't know. Hold on. Let me show them something else first. And here we go. So tell me what this is, and I'll make this big here. And then
but that's not the one I want to.
I know, but I only got pictures, so we'll just let them look at it while I find the link. Can you relax? There we go. She's worried I'm messing up her presentation. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Here, let's just put this down here.
Yes.
Now, okay.
You're messing up my presentation.
Well.
But anyways, the phrase in Lak'ech was introduced by a Mexican anthropologist named Domingo Martinez in the 70s. He was also a professor. And one of his students, Luis Valdez, he made a poem. And in Lak'ech, the prayer part that they're calling it here in InfoWords is actually a small piece of a book that he wrote called Pensamientos Serpentinos. So the poem, when Ransom gets to it,
yes,
he'll show us the poem so I can show you what it means. And it has nothing to do with praying to no gods. Yeah, done. Yes.
Oh, well, yeah, you should have just told me that. I could just switch it out then.
So the in Lak'ech, they're calling it that it's a Mayan or Aztec, but really it's a Mayan principle, because the Maya believed that the human being was a vibrant being, meaning that the people. Oh, well, here's the poem. So it says in Lak'ech, and that means if you are my other me, if I love and respect you, I love and respect myself. If I do harm to you, I do harm to myself. So that's what pretty much in Lak'ech Alakim means, or the thought of it. And so anyways, as you guys can see, that's the in Lak'ech poem. And it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with no praying to any weird or any gods. Really, it's just a poem. So that right there was wrong in the article of InfoWars, because they said that they were praying to those gods. Now they're talking. Let me see. Let me pull up the news article on my phone about InfoWords. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. See, yeah, it says in the InfoWords website says, on one chant called in Lak'ech Affirmation is a prayer to the god Aztec Tezcatlipoca. And he's actually one of the 4 creator gods. And it says that in the 5th month of the Aztec calendar, a man will be sacrificed to Tezcatlipoca by having his heart ripped out before he was eaten. And I want to talk about that.
You have that diagram.
Yes, let me tell you. Put the one.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
So I wanna. That's the four major. The ones on the each on the right and the left. In the middle is just another important god. But Cipetotec, Huitzilopochtli, Tezcatlipoca, and Quetzalcoatl. There are the four creator gods that created this sun. Okay, or this sun, this earth
Universe?
and universe. Yes. So they're in the Infowars thing. They're mixing. They're mixing gods and different sacrificial rituals. So do you want me to talk about those?
Yeah, go ahead. So what you're saying is they kind of made an article where they blended ideas that have nothing to do with each other to make an article to make it look like
Yes.
they were somehow.
Now.
Here, I'll just let you say it. All right.
But now, because in the article is only talking about the prayer, but now if the curriculum itself, which they don't show, has stuff like that, that shows the different gods and that praying to them and all of that, then yeah. But based on the article talking about this in Lakesh prayer, is not correct what they're saying.
And you were telling me that the prayer actually isn't even a Mayan or Aztec prayer.
No, it's like I said, it's a Mexican anthropologist came up with that word, with that meaning, with that principle of a Mayan principle. But no, that happened in the 70s.
So they're not really, being taught to chant to these gods. However, let's talk about the actual gods that did exist, and did they involve human sacrifice?
So those four creator gods, we can talk about.
You want me to switch to this one?
Yes.
All right.
So one of the gods that is named in the article, the Infowars article, is Cipetotec. And it's kind of gruesome. So he is actually the lord of the flayed one.
Flayed?
Like
with no skin?
Yes. And also god of the death and rebirth. He's also the god of regeneration, of corn and of war, of spring and new vegetation. So in March, there was a party to celebrate that god, Cipetotec.
You mean Easter? Or Passover?
Which that celebration is called the flying of men. Or fillet, or how do you say that word? Like cutting,
flayed.
Like skinned off their.
Yeah, flayed.
Yes, and as you guys can see in the one of the codex pictures of representing the god Cipetotec, you can see him. He was represented by wearing the flayed skin on him.
So he wore people's meat.
Yes, and there's more pictures I would like to show.
Let's see here.
Because there's some sculptures, and this is actually in the Mexican Museum in Mexico City, in the Museum of Anthropology and History. This is another representation of Cipetotec wearing the skin of the.
Why has he got such little chunks? You'd think he'd cut a bigger piece.
I don't know, but I want to talk about this ritual or ceremony because like I said, they kind of mixed that with another one in the Infowars article.
Okay.
So this is a celebration that lasted 20 days. And yes, in the ceremony, there were ritual sacrifices carried out. And there's another picture of similar of that down. You have it in it. Oh,
that is
didn't
it.
save it.
This one.
Yep. Sorry.
This one?
Yes.
All right.
That's another.
And this is like a shirt made out of people. Is that what you're saying?
People's skin. Yes. So.
How fashionable. It puts the lotion on its skin, or it gets flayed again.
So the priest took out hearts of victims, warriors captured in combat, and they skinned them, later painted in yellow, so and they will dress on them with that skin.
Yeah.
In the feast of this god, human flesh was consumed along with corn. And there's another picture.
All right, you tell me which one you want. Which slide do you want? This one.
And that's another picture from the codex. And as you can see, there's plates and bowls with human
Yummy.
pieces. And that actually
Maybe it's clone meat. Maybe it's like maybe we're viewing it wrong from an outside perspective. Maybe these are just little cups of cloned human. It's near meat or whatever. It's not really. No, obviously they cut someone up.
And it says that the feast of this, like I said, they were consumed along with corn, and because of this member of the body allude to the grains of the sacred food, which it was the corn. So this is the act of cannibalism that was
Wait.
priests during the ritual.
Wait, did you just say that this is connected to corn?
Yes.
Now,
because-
wait. Let me make a point real quick. Look at this. Does that look more like corn
And they were
or
painted
pieces
in
of
yellow.
skin? And they were painted in yellow.
Yep.
So they're changing flesh to corn?
Yeah, because also in the Aztec mythology, they believe that they were created out of corn.
They were created out of corn. So flesh and corn are the same thing.
Yes, I still want to talk about that picture.
Okay, go back to
So
your
that god that is represented in the picture of the meeting people is the Mitlatzencuhtli. The word names are so Mitlatzencutli, which is the dead, the god of the dead. In fact, this guy right here is the one that they celebrate on the Day of the Dead because he's the patron of that.
Wow.
Okay, so that is Sipototec, which is one of the creator gods. There's a picture of him also.
All right. So this change it to which?
Let's see. The one with the oh well, you guys already. Oh, that one.
This one?
Yes. So that's him, right? So the next one of the creator gods is that I want to talk about because it is mentioned on the article is Tezcatlipoca, which is yes.
I guessed that one.
Yes, I think that's him. So his name is the Smoking Mirror, god of darkness. He's also associated with sorcery and the night and a jaguar. He has different names throughout the various Nahuatl people in Mexico, and I want to name some of them because he's actually he's very important. Merciful enemy, creator of humanity, the one who wears slaves, precious prince, for whom everyone lives, professor of heaven and earth. Not professor, possessor.
A possessor.
Yes, referee and the creator of himself. So those are one of the names according to the Codex of Magliavecchiano. Also in that codex is mentioned as he was the omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, virile, ever young God before whom all creators were left defenseless.
So he's the big bad mojo.
Yes. Okay. And there's actually an interesting celebration for him. Let me see. So the celebration for this god was held on May, and this is actually very interesting. And this one is the one that is referring to the one in the InfoWars with the wrong god, of course. But apparently, a man was chosen to a slave, of course, that will represent the god. And it will have to meet certain characteristics, like it will have to be with no blemishes on his face. His hair had to be down to his waist. He had to be graceful and strong, and so they had to meet this requirements or whatever as as a slave to be picked for this celebration. And he also the one that they will choose, they will give him 4 young maiden or women who he will marry, and they will satisfy all of his wishes until the moment of his sacrifice. He will be adorned with jewels and eat good and pretty much be treated like a god, because that's what he was represented. And at the end of the year, they will perform a sacrifice, opening his heart or taking his heart out, and then the next one will take over. And anyways, so yeah. So those are the 2 gods that I don't know. Do you want me to talk about the other one?
Yeah, you got all these slides. Let's hear it. What's going on?
Okay, so another of the creator gods, but this is not mentioned anywhere in the article, but
That's
I just
okay.
thought I should talk about them since we're talking about the 2 other ones.
So they smushed a bunch of stuff in a kind of a fear-mongering article, making it sound like if people learned about other deities, which is actually what they were accusing people were accusing it of, as theocide, I guess, is trying to kill somebody's thing. So what's this? What are we looking at here?
Okay, so the next another of the 4 creator gods is Quetzalcoatl. He's on the right, and he has his twin brother Solot, which I actually have a video about it on my channel, the Ravenwolf channel, if you guys want to check it out.
Anubis. I mean,
yes.
Sorry.
Yes, pretty much. So, and I think it's interesting because in the codex they say that Quetzalcoatl was against sacrifice, human sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I know that other gods did not agree with him or whatever. But anyways, he was, in case if you guys don't know, he became the morning star, or the morning and evening star, like Venus, represented by Venus.
Oh yeah, the morning star, Lucifer.
Yes.
We know him. Yeah.
So he was revered as the patron of the priest, the inventor of the calendar, the books, the protector of goldsmith and other craftsmen. He was also identified, as I mentioned, as the planet Venus. So that's another creator god. There's more about Quetzalcoatl, but I'm just really covering the basics here.
Okay.
And the last
slide change.
Yes, and the last
this one?
Yes. Creator god is Huitzilopochtli, which is a death hummingbird.
A hummingbird.
You can see the representation, and also he has a staff.
Does he pollinate?
He looks like he has red hair, no?
Yeah.
In that
Yeah.
representation. Anyways, he was the deity of the war, sun, human sacrifice, and the patron of the city of Tenochtitlan. So Teotihuacan, he's the patron of there, and he was also well, like I mentioned, one of the 4 creator gods.
So he has nothing to do with pollinating or none of that? I just thought he would because he said. Okay, so what's this last slide? You didn't show us. This one right here. What's this?
Oh, that's another one of which. No, it's Quetzalcoatl.
It's Quetzalcoatl.
Mm-hmm.
What? Whoa.
Yeah.
Well,
See
Anna.
the duck kind of looking.
Yeah. Thanks for the presentation. So basically, it was kind of a fear-mongering article.
Yeah.
Even though usually they source their material and whatever, you always got to watch what you listen to, because everybody's got a freaking agenda. All of them, right?
Yeah. And I'm thinking about making a video on my channel about this. So
She's going to make a video on her channel about that. So that's the Raven Wolf channel. She's got thousands of subs. She's like a big channel and stuff. I don't know. We're just here with our measly little 50 or 30. Thanks all 6 of y'all for showing up. Anyway. So
well, thank you for having me.
All right. So we're going to cover some more news real quick. And then, yeah, check it out. That dude. Hey, yo. What the fuck happened? What's going on? Why is it showing the wrong window now? That's weird. I think it's this one. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the right one. Be afraid, be very afraid. Your farts and your cars and you eating all that beef is causing the planet. Because, 420 TV, we have to go with the authoritarian sources, of course. Kidding. But anyway, yeah, you should probably check out the Oppenheimer Ranch channel about subjects like La Nina that supposedly could supercharge this year's tornado season, just like it did to deadly effect in 2011, even though I believe in 2011 they had a normal amount, basically, of tornadoes. It's weird how they fear porn you with all kinds of stuff. But maybe it will. Game of Drones, Chinese DJI hit by U.S. tensions, staff defections. What does this mean? It means people like me that like doing videos with my Chinese-made DJI drone will soon be holding a piece of useless hardware that the software no longer works on because they're going to cut it off because, there's been people accusing them of using it to spy. But it's kind of a joke because we all know about the Pokemon incidents where tech companies, and like I've said before, everybody's spying all the time, every keystroke, every time you burp, sniff, fart, or anything, somebody's watching, somebody's recording, it's all metadata, it's all going in a file. You're kidding yourself if you don't believe that they're doing that. And they're saying this meteorite that struck a family's driveway offers clues to life, but they can't explain it. Basically, they're just saying it's got old stuff in it from out there. I thought this was a cool article. Russia deploys giant space telescope in Lake Baikal. Russian scientists on Saturday launched one of the world's biggest underwater space telescopes to peer deep into the universe from the pristine waters of Lake Baikal, I believe is how you say that. The Deep Underwater Telescope, which has been under construction since 2015, is designed to observe neutrinos. Is that a real thing? Are neutrinos real, or is that just a Star Trek thing? I don't know, but allegedly, we're going to get to see all our black holes out in space. The black holes that are super energy, dark matter fantasy, stars. I thought that this was the most unique article of tonight's segment. Bees found to be using feces as a tool to repel the hornet attacks. So basically, they're just flinging poo at them. Now, actually, it makes sense. They're just spreading the poo around so that the pheromones and the smell trick the it tricks the wasp and the hornets into thinking that it's its own territory and that's its own thing. It's kind of like if you ate some honey from a hive and then you're breathing honey on them. They don't want to sting you. The U.S. has more than 1,000 troops in Afghanistan that they didn't mention. They failed to mention. Well, you thought we were pulling out. Remember Trump said, I'm ending the war. No, but actually we had a bunch of troops all over the place because we never intended on ever ending any wars. You can mark my words on that. They'll just, morph out. We'll say there's this or there's that. And then, we'll be in Syria and some other countries in no time. And we talked about the volcanoes and the ever-changing planet here. But does it surprise you that Jeffrey Epstein is Woody Allen's friend? It didn't surprise me at all. Elon Musk. According to this astrophysicist, Elon Musk is completely delusional about colonizing Mars, and that may be true. But maybe it's not. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. But this is a prison planet, so I don't expect you'll ever get off of it and go to some world that's different than the Earth, because the Earth was made for you. It's literally like a symbiotic organism that you can't live without. Unless we discover an Earth-like planet, which is doubtful that we'll sail across the fantasy land. But maybe one day. Or maybe some extraterrestrials just fly in and give us some technology, just maybe. Or we'll have fake UFOs and fake aliens. Don't put it past human beings to be faking stuff. Look at this story and talk about some crazy shit. Florida woman pretending to be a plastic surgeon arrested after a bad nose surgery. So this chick was so delusional that she thought she could rearrange someone's face and get away with it. Police said that the woman pretending to be a licensed plastic surgeon in Doral, Florida, was arrested Thursday after a man said his face was disfigured as a result of a nose job she administered. Maybe you shouldn't be trying to change your face, man. I'm just saying. I don't even trust doctors that aren't pretending, much less people pretending to be doctors. Hey, did you know that, I think I circle back. Let's circle back, and I think I mentioned it more than once during this broadcast that there's no such thing as freedom of speech. Will insulting a police officer become a crime in Kentucky? The Senate approved it. Well, if you let the government get away with it, they're going to completely close it down where you're only going to be talking to AI. You're going to call in. It's going to be one of those voice-operated shit like the mega corporations already do, where the idea of customer service or that the government works for the citizen, well, that's a bad joke on you. And of course they're going to make it against the law. They're already ignoring free speech. They want to censor the hell out of you and then fine you and throw you in jail if you say the wrong thing. I mean, that's just a part of reality nowadays. And another weird part of reality is, those millennials we said that are entitled? Well, they're a good portion of the singles out there. And evidently, things are so bad that people reverting into AI and, porn land. Because what the sad state is according to this at least, very sad that, all of those singles out there are basically just masturbating all day because they believed in some fucking theory about where they should be and how they should dress and blah, blah, blah. So they have no social life. So imagine how sad that is, that there's just a bunch of, because I've showed you the articles, right? Tired, depressed, all of that stuff. And that's supposed to be the thing you're afraid of. But it's also the side effect where people are just staying inside. What? Go outside and get some fresh air. Stop masturbating all day. Don't spank the monkey lest the monkey been bad. Jesus. Just kidding. Anyway, they don't want you to have a family, so that makes sense. They'd want you sitting around making love or fucking a toaster. Meanwhile, let me just play you this because I don't want to taint it with my own biased opinion.
Came to an end, and that means it is up to businesses to decide whether or not to require masks on an individual basis. But as one Galveston woman found out, when a business requires masks and you don't comply, you can end up in handcuffs. Stephen Romo from our news partner KTRK in Houston has the story.
Oh, now is he going to shoot me, people? Is he going to shoot me for trying not to breathe?
Cool.
Come on, dude.
Don't do that.
A mask disagreement escalated quickly at a Bank of America in Galveston. Body camera video shows an officer with Galveston PD come in to confront 65-year-old Terry White, who was refusing to put on a mask. Even though Governor Greg Abbott ended the Texas mask mandate, private businesses can still require them. The officer asked White to leave.
Ma'am, listen, we're going to do this the easy way or the hard way.
What are you going to do, arrest me?
Yes, for intruding on premises.
That's hilarious.
After she backs away, the confrontation takes a turn.
Oh, no.
Do not touch me. Who do you think you are?
2010, one
Oh, back up. Some old lady is getting handcuffed here.
Finally, on the ground and cuffed, White turns her attention to other customers who don't appear to be on her side.
Not relaxed at all.
Right here, people. No, it's not. Wow, what a bunch of sheep.
In just over 4 minutes, the officer walked in and then emerged with White in custody.
Wow, not wearing a mask, people. This is what they do to you.
First responders took her to the hospital for some minor injuries, and she's now facing a warrant for charges of resisting arrest and criminal trespass.
Yeah, criminal trespass. And you notice, remember, we were joking, circle back, that you had freedom of speech. You don't have no freedom of speech. You think, who do those police work for? Did you thought they worked for you? You notice she was at the bank, right? And remember I was talking about the pyramid of power that's on the earth. You know, you can only go up to a certain rung of it, and we're not even allowed to know who the fuck's above that. There's a private Federal Reserve Bank. We don't even know who the fuck they are. Is it even a human? I don't know. But anyway, this goes to show you that your supposed public servants, they don't work for the public. They work for the bank. And yeah, did you see all those sheeple in the background sticking up for freedom? Oh my God, I'm sorry, that's a sick joke. It's a sick joke. Undisputed middleweight champion. Remember, circle back, Marvelous Marvin, he dies. It has nothing to do at all with this. I mean, this is an old article. They've already updated it, as I showed you earlier. All of the new articles say it has nothing to do with this. This article still said it did before they changed it. I don't know. Or maybe they're just feeling bold at this website. It says effects of it, but you know, his wife's a doctor and immediately came out with a statement saying she knows for a fact that it wasn't this. So maybe she knows something I don't know. I read several articles on it. It all says there's undisclosed information, unknown, variables, and they're not going to tell you. But he went in, he got this, and yada, yada, yada. He's dead. Meghan Markle. You know, the poor girl that I would have to agree that with Candace Owens and say that I don't agree that I would be able to tell what alleged kind of person she is. When she's claiming that, she's had a real bad time because people were racist towards her, even though I couldn't tell by looking at her that. So I agree with Candace Owens. I don't believe it. But, there's a long history in America of putting up presidential people or whatever, that can directly relate their heritage to another group of people, like the royals or whatever. So she's actually a royal. She's an American citizen. I don't know. Is it too far out there to think that person might be what they're looking for, like the first colored woman president with royal blood to rule over you in the only rung that you get to see? And as I told you months and months and months ago, and on several channels since this whole ordeal started, the government is going to recede into their little corners, and you're not going to be able to, exercise your First Amendment of your right to give a grievance to your government, your grievances with your freedom of speech. You think you're really going to get to do that? No, they're going to close down all the freaking buildings. They're going to muffle you with fabrics on your head to cover your identity. You can call in and you can talk to the AI. They even have it in my city now. You call into the municipal building or the county building. It's a fucking AI to direct your call. If they don't want to answer, they don't answer. They barely answer now. Now the fucking thing's closed, because of your safety, because everybody's safety. Plus, there was that thing down there at the Capitol where people were exercising their amendments, and, it got all crazy, and it was worse than 9/11 or Pearl Harbor. Anyway, watch this video while I toke on something, because I thought it was related,
We have learned that the new Secretary of Defense, the guy who took a bunch of money from Raytheon, overruled the National Guard and ordered that troops remain in Washington for political reasons. According to the Pentagon, the troops are necessary to protect us from the insurrectionists. So who are those insurrectionists? Well, one of them was named Ashley Babbitt, a veteran from San Diego. You probably didn't hear the media remember her on International Women's Day because she was from the wrong social class. But she's dead. She was killed by a Capitol Hill police officer. It happened at the riot at the Capitol building on January 6th. Now, you'd think a police officer shooting an unarmed woman would prompt some calls for transparency, whether you agree with her politics or not, but it hasn't. We still don't know the name of the police officer, and more critically, we have no idea why precisely he felt the need to shoot Ashley Babbitt. There was an investigation. Apparently, we haven't seen it. Terrell N. Roberts is an attorney representing the family of Ashley Babbitt. We're happy to have him on tonight. Mr. Roberts, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here.
So we've been wondering for more than a month why exactly Ashley Babbitt was shot. What have you learned? Can you tell us?
Well, we don't know why she was shot. There's no good reason why she was shot. I mean, this is not a case where deadly force should have been used. All the officer had to do was step forward, establish his presence, give her verbal warnings, and if she didn't comply and he had grounds to arrest her. He could have arrested this 5'2", 110-pound woman with easily, and but instead he shot her. You know, you don't use deadly force unless you are confronted with a threat to your life or the threat on somebody else's life. And there was no immediate threat to the officer or to anyone else. That corridor was clear of congressmen, one of them a congressman close to Ashley Babbitt. So she was not a threat, and it's baffling why he would go ahead and shoot her first rather than take the other steps of just merely arresting her.
You said there was no warning. The officer never warned Ashley Babbitt, and I think it's pretty conventional to warn someone before you shoot her to death. Are you sure there was no warning? Do we know that?
Well, I can tell you this. The video, the people are taking video on Ashley's side of the doors. There are several people. You can't hear a warning. So now if he's behind looks like he's concealed himself in a room. He's wearing a mask.
Sorry, I had a wire crossed. Actually, I don't even need to listen to that. You know, a lot of people theorize that the girl didn't even get shot. I don't even actually buy that, because you want to know if something's real, that's whenever you find out lawsuits are happening. When people are getting sued, something really happened because there's people trying, unless, you know, the entire thing is totally made up. But in this case, I don't think it is. I think they just capped that girl to make a point that the government is scared of its citizenry and they won't put up. That's why they put a big giant fucking border around the goddamn Capitol. And we thought we were alone, but no, they're doing the same thing. I showed you this, circle back. These women are out there mad because a cop did some bad shit to a chick, allegedly. And, you know, how do they respond? They go out and beat the shit out of them and arrest them and take them and haul them off. Do you think America's any different? It's a police state. If you don't believe me, go look at the Capitol. They have a wall built around them like they're kings in a castle, like we're already in the feudalistic system. It's already a feudalist system. If you don't see that, you're insane. But don't worry. We had a 10,000-year-old dog bone that supports the theory of coastal route to Americas. So they're finally changing their tune on that. A little bit. We already talked about the crazy bacteria and fungal species growing up there in space. Can you believe anything that these people say? It's how they really fuck with your head, that's it. Because look, does anybody really argue that we have an overbearing police state since 2001 at least, if you started counting then? Let's just start counting then, in 2001. Since 2001, the Department of Homeland Security increased, and then law after law after law. We got the Patriot Act, the NDAA, the Freedom Act, the Freedom Act 2. I mean, there's just so many of these things. Meanwhile, they take all your money and give you a little check. They have people arguing whether or not we live in a police state or not. They have them arguing whether or not it's a racist system or not. It is a racist system. I'm going to go ahead and agree with that. It is a racist system. They really hate one race in particular. That's the human race. They fucking despise us. They don't like the idea that we're free. They don't like the middle class being able to take care of themselves. They hate people that are completely self-sufficient and can live life according to their own rules. They hate it. They hate you. But somehow they convince conservatives, libertarians, etc., supposedly Republicans, to sit there and fight whether or not the system's racist. Racist. Well, that's not the question. The questions are they overbearing police state? When people get shot in their homes and they get shot for dumb reasons, When you know that the government will never back down if you defend yourself, they're shooting all kinds of people of different colors. They want you to think it's only one so they can segregate people. Like I said, Martin Luther King would be rolling over in his grave if he got to see the segregation and the destruction of individual freedoms, the nonsensical nonsense thrown upon us by this weird system of social justicing every little thing that we do until we're completely controlled and everyone stays in their home, in their little cell. Anyway, boom. There's the chat. That's you guys, and thank you. It's the Snake Pit. Look at that Sidewinder out there at White Sands. He's cool as shit. Anyway, thanks for watching. This has been 420 TV. The time is now 4:20. Well, at least it is going to be for me. The weather is partly cloudy, and you've been listening to 177.6 on your freedom of speech dial. I'll never go away. I'll keep trying. I'm on the other platforms now. I'm starting to upload there. But anyway, peace out. That's all I got for 420 TV. Have a good one.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.